I really want to know whether the snap timing thing is an anticipation thing or whether it's a reaction time thing, because one of those is coachable and one of them is not. So I have an idea. This summer, I go to the university. I walk around until I see on campus. I yell heads up and then whip a frisbee at him. And if he catches it, then he improves because on my board, because I know that the reaction time is there. And then I run away as fast as I can and I look over my shoulder for the rest of my life. But he would definitely be higher on my board after that. Welcome to the Balls Talk Sports NFL podcast. We're especially fired up today because our last episode, the 2026 draft offensive tackle rankings, got corrupted. So today we've got something to prove. This is the first time you're seeing me with like a real indoor voice and not a library whispering voice and a real backdrop. I think we also delivered a great performance on our offensive tackle episode that unfortunately you'll never get to see, and it's haunting our dreams. But we're going to do something great today. We're sticking to the O-line and ranking 10 total guards and centers apiece. Victor, are you ready to get kinky?
I'm ready to get kinky. And yeah, it was heartbreaking last week. We recorded possibly the best episode we've ever recorded on this channel. And y'all will never, hell, you didn't see it. That is the best episode anyone has ever recorded on any channel ever. That's the best piece of content you will ever see. Nobody else has shit on that episode. However, you will never see it, which is very unfortunate. It was a very good episode, actually. I'm very, very sad that y'all don't get to see it. The few of you, which actually we hit 10 subscribers today. What up? So the 10 members of the BTS army won't be able to see it. But it was a really good episode.
6 of them are my alternate accounts.
Oh, well, no, I know it's not. I know you don't have 6 because 6 of them are my alternate accounts. It's mathematically impossible, according to our math department.
I think it's only my main channel that I'm subbed with, so we're moving up in the world.
All right, we're doing good. But yeah, that tackle episode was fun, and it was a great class. I'm just, since you're not going to hear our opinion on tackles, let's just say that we're really excited to talk about that next spring, whenever we get into the draft.
It's going to be a fantastic class. Like, I'm going that far. There are going to be 4 or 5 first-round offensive tackles of every flavor, whether you want zone blockers, whether you want man-gap mashers, whether you want guys that can just keep the quarterback upright. It's deep as well. It is a stellar offensive tackle class.
Yeah, I tell you, and in a class last year, which was just chock full of guards, very few actual tackles, there is a lot of actual tackles. And if that last year's class wasn't your flavor, then this one will get you going because there's a lot of good ones. But this interior offensive line class, while I don't think it's the level of the tackle class, it's got some flavor to it. There's something interesting about it. Okay. And that's what we're going to talk about today, interior offensive line. It's very exciting because not unlike the tackle class, if you weren't a fan of last year's interior offensive line class, because last year was a really interesting offensive line class as a whole, because there was basically there's always a fair few guys, and there was 3 of them that weren't guards. All of them were guards. There was no tackles and there was no centers. Okay. We have centers in this class. They're actual centers who played center in college and will play center. Yeah, exactly. There's chock full of them. You'd argue there's not a guard shortage. There's never a guard shortage. There will never, ever be a guard shortage. It's maybe the most plentiful position in football, apart from receiver and running back. But there's centers, actual centers, and it's very exciting. And we're going to talk about a few of them today.
All right, are we ready to go 10-6?
Yeah, do you have any honorable mentions you want to get out of the way before we do 10-6?
Let's see, who do I want to shout out? So the player that I finished up watching right before this episode is, and I don't have an official pronunciation, so this is coming from the heart here.
All right.
Olivavanga Ioane out of Penn State, who, oh my gosh, such a fun player. There is so much to like with him. He might be the most powerful overall blocker in this class. He's a certified people mover. I don't want to add work to your editing workload, but look up Vanga Ioane Pancake versus UCLA. One of the most dominant blocks you will ever see. However, if you recall that play, which surely our audience is watching on the screen right now, I'm so sorry, Victor. He kind of he hits the guy, and then he's stationary, like he's just standing over him. That is how Ioane plays. There are some flashes of nice athleticism, but on a down-to-down basis, he's just not seeing the game super fast yet. The hands are all over the place in pass protection. I think he's a class of 2027 guy, but if he sticks on a good development track, he's going to be an extremely fun player. And then one guy I wanted to shout out who just missed the list, maybe one of my biggest my guys on the offensive line, random ass dude I was watching, Tanu Atongiai out of Utah, as I was watching Lomu and Spencer Fano for last week's should have been episode. We're so sorry. He really popped to me. Another just high end displacer up front. At that point, I hadn't seen a whole lot of gap scheme, people mover type guards. And so I was really excited to see a guy who can just run a defensive tackle off the line of scrimmage. Tanu Atongiai can do that. He's a work in progress in pass protection, but I think the flashes are there. So just a little sleeper I wanted to shout out.
Nice. Yeah. Don't feel bad about giving me extra work. I didn't have to edit an episode this week, so I need the extra work. Okay. Yeah, that tackle class, man. And actually, so about Fano, we actually agreed. We both had him as our number one tackle. That's like only the second time that's happened. Now, and because I have no idea if we'll agree today because the top of this class is such a mess. I only have one honorable mention. Also, sorry, I can't believe I forgot this. Oliva Vega Ioane?
So I'm pretty sure that's correct because I couldn't find him saying it himself or a team pronunciation guide. However, I did find, so for Samoan and Polynesian names, if you see a G that's like mid-name, not at the start, it's always going to be an ung sound, like in Talisa Fuanga or Tua Tungavailoa. And so I assumed that it was Vanga, and then I really had to think it out, do some hardcore mental gymnastics, and I arrived at Ioane. And then I did a little bit more searching because, like, again, this is what I do. I care about the pronunciations more than I care about the scouting reports. I found some Penn State analysts talking about it, and it was Oliva Vanga Ioane. And so I'm locking it in. That's official to me.
Okay. Oh my God. Oliva Vanga.
So I think it's usually shortened to Vanga is what it sounds like.
Okay, that makes it easier. Vanga Ioane. Well, we gotta say the first part of his name because that's integral for the anecdote. Oliva Vanga Ioane, he's an O lineman and he starts with OL. All right. But it gets better than that.
That's nice.
It gets better than that. His last name starts with I and then it ends with NE. He's O-line. That's his name, man. So when I saw his name, I was just like, man, I have to watch a little bit of this guy. I didn't end up watching more than a game, so I didn't write him up, but I saw similar things to you. But I was just like, there's no way he doesn't work out. He's a Penn State kid named O-line. Get him in the NFL instantly. But anyway, I thought that was funny. The number 11 player, I did watch 11 interior guys that I did full write-ups on 11 guys that I thought were worth talking about today. The guy who just missed the cut was the Mizzou center, Connor Tolleson. He's interesting. He's just kind of your classic undersized center. He's a pretty good athlete. He's pretty good to really good athlete. But yeah, he's just undersized. I think he's listed like maybe 290, 286 or something like that. So yeah, he'll get moved pretty easily a lot of the time. Now he can sink his hips into that anchor, but I mean, he's really just going to win based off outside zone and make his money there because there is some good parts about him. He's a smart player. He can set. He's not just going to get run over by everybody, and he's really good in outside zone to kind of find the guy, hit him. He's just a class. I think he'll probably be a really solid backup for a team that likes to run a lot of outside zone. I don't know if I forgot what year he is. Let me look at my sheet real quick. Yeah, he's a redshirt junior, so he might have another year left in the tank after this one. But either way, definitely an NFL player, I think.
There are a couple of really scheme-dependent, outside zone, lighter centers in this year's class.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to learn whether we're going to be talking about one today or whether we're going to be talking about two, because there's a player that I did watch that I don't know if you know that I watched, who I have a little bit of a take on. So we'll see if he's in your top 10.
Oh, you think we're only going to be talking about two?
Oh, we got even more? You might have watched
have more.
I didn't watch.
Yeah, we might have more. All right. I'm just saying, all right, do you want to do your 10 through 6 first, or do you want me to go?
Sure, I can take away mine. So my number 10 is actually the only non-college interior offensive lineman on this list. It's Anthony Donko out of Penn State. At number 9, I have Jaden Roberts, the guard from Alabama. Number 8, I have Chase Basantis, the former Texas A&M tackle. Now he's a Texas A&M guard. Number 7, I have probably the biggest sleeper on this list, and that is Josh Thompson, who played for Northwestern this year. He transferred to LSU for his final season. And then at 6, I have Emmanuel Pregnon, formerly of Wyoming and then USC. And this year, for his final year, 6th year, transferred to Oregon.
Okay, so is it officially Elson? What we got to give you a name as far as your naming abilities. Elson pronunciation verified. Elson.
Mm.
Is it
Which one?
officially Elson? Elson officially Elson pronunciation certified that his name is Pregnon?
No, it's not. I didn't get around to him.
All
I
right.
watched him today. I
I
haven't
was
verified
confused.
it yet, but don't worry. I will get back to you because I know that you really, really care about that.
I do, of course, and we'll have some questions. I actually have I actually have the answer for one of the guys later on this list. But we'll talk about him later. I'm sure you do as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
number 10 is going to be Emmanuel Pregnon. Pregnon? Let's just say Pregnon.
Let's go with that.
The Oregon guard. Number 9 is going to be Caden Green, the Missouri guard. I'm not sure if that's a take or not. I've seen some people have him really high. Some people have him here. So I don't know. I just came away with him at 9. Number 8, I also have Chase Basantis, the A&M guard. There you go. Again, I thought that I might have to go to war for him, but no, we're there. Number 7, so I'm going to do 10 through 5, actually, because my number 7,
Okay.
number 6, and number 5 they're vastly different players, but man, it took me the longest time to figure out a ranking for these guys because I can't figure it out. And generally when I say, okay, yeah, you can put these guys in any order, I don't care. I generally have a preference. I have no preference with these guys. You can put them in any order and I'll be like, yeah, I don't care. Like they're not similar players, but how I think that they're going to pan out is very similar, and how I view them as prospects is very similar. So number 7 is going to be Jaden Roberts out of Alabama. Number 6 is going to be Logan Jones out of Iowa. And number 5 is going to be Connor Liu out of Auburn.
Okay, so you have 3 players that I didn't watch on that list. And do I have 2 that you didn't watch on mine?
Yeah, it was Thompson and
Yeah.
who was your 6?
Dunko.
Yeah, it was Thompson and Donko. Yeah. And the 3 players, who did you not watch on my list?
I didn't watch Lou. Unfortunately, I didn't get around to him. I didn't watch either of the Missouri guys. And then, I thought there was one more. Who was your 6?
Oh, my 6 was Logan Jones, the Iowa center.
I did watch Logan Jones.
Okay. And
Maybe there's only 2.
Did he make your top 10 or no?
He did not.
Oh, okay. All right. So where do you want to start?
Do you want me to take it away on Donko and then you can maybe do I think it was like your number 9, you can do the Missouri guard?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so Anthony Donko, 6'5", 326 pounds, plays. Oh, did he play right tackle or left tackle? He played right tackle for the Nittany Lions last year, and he's headed into his 3rd season, but he didn't really play much. He redshirted his first year round, so 2 years of eligibility remaining. This guy out of high school was a 3-time team MVP. He played both sides of the ball at a high level, and he was a wrestler. You obviously love to see that, and that does show up quite a bit in his play style. This kid has to be a bench press champion for sure. Super stocky. He looks like he's 326 pounds plus at 6'5". And what really impressed me about him was his ability to sink the knees and really move guys off the ball. And then when you pair that with his ability to get the arms extended, I mean, he's just pushing guys around at a really high level. And I didn't mind the technique that he brought to pass protection for the most part. I didn't think that for a first-year starter, his hands were timid. I thought that they were assertive. I thought he showed some ability to vary punches. I watched him against Ohio State, and he gave Jack Sawyer a really hard time on a couple of reps. He the chair, yup. Okay, this is going to be awesome.
It takes a lot to nudge the chair off of his course.
Well, here's the thing. This was like a major green flag for me with Donko. He picked up on a tell that Sawyer had mid-game in terms of what move he was going to go to and what his pad level was going to be. And he found a way to fold the chair. It's like,
wow,
guys have snatch traps where you're sort of baiting the rusher into a mistake and then you're chopping him down and pushing that into the ground because there's so much momentum carrying forward at a low pad level. What Donko was doing wasn't really a snatch trap per se, because it was like a light flicked on in his head. The moment that Jack Sawyer gets too low, I'm just going to go out and whack you. And it dropped him 2 or 3 times in a row. And obviously Sawyer adjusted because he's a smart player in his own right and got his after that. But this is a quality college offensive tackle. This isn't the guy that has to kick in at the college level. It's just 326 pounds. Maybe Penn State's ridiculous strength and conditioning program can do something really special for him, but the foot speed to take away speed rushes to the outside corner isn't there. The coupling between the upper and lower body, it's pretty stiff. There's not much he can do about bendy rushers. He freezes his feet and has a hard time against really well-coordinated pass rush moves. I think the arms are a little shorter, and I think he could bring a little bit more of an alpha mentality. Like, the wrestling background shows up. He knows how to get people to the ground. I want to see him blocking his ass off through the whistle and really trying to run people over. And it'll be interesting to see if that mentality manifests more as he gains more experience. This is a guy I think is going to translate really well to the interior. And I think he has really high-end pass protector potential as well, where guys can't run around him as much. So that is Anthony Donko from Penn State.
Very interesting. Sounds like it's like a fun watch.
That's a good line. That
Yeah.
Nittany Lions line is a good line.
Yeah, I mean, wow. That is, now I'm thinking about it. They're probably going to be pretty good next year. I mean, it's Penn State. Of course they're going to be pretty good, but I mean, that's looking interesting. But what you're saying is the chair not only got folded, but for the first time he was the one getting whacked instead of whacking other people.
Yes, I know. It was shocking because this is kind of embarrassing, actually. I think I've seen more Ohio State defense tapes so far this summer than I watched last year. And it's just reinforcing, like, holy shit, Jack Sawyer was killing everybody. Just
Yeah.
the amount of power he has, and Donko being able to take that away a little bit, that's impressive.
I think I've single-handedly come up around on Cody Simon, just seeing how many big plays he fucking made last year. Like, I don't care about athletic concerns. I don't care. This is a dude who's just hitting guys. I'm sorry, Cody Simon. I was unfamiliar with your. I know. I watched Cody Simon, but still, like, I mean, you're watching these guys. It's hard to, sometimes the big plays don't get you going as much as they could because they're all stringing together. But you see him outside of that like mindset, and you're like, whoa, that's an NFL player. You know, which he did end up going decently high. He's going to play for the Cardinals, so that's interesting. So yeah, I'm on Caden Green now.
Yes.
All right. So Caden Green, again, I'm not really sure where he is on the consensus board. I am curious. He doesn't appear to be on.
I can pull that up for you if you want to talk about him, because he's on there. I know he's listed as a tackle for some reason.
Yeah,
which is just wrong.
That's what got me confused about him, because like I listed him as a tackle at first because I try to base my I try to grab as much guys from the consensus board and like NFL Draft Buzz and PFF, the guys who actually have these early rankings up, to build my master board so I can kind of like, okay, who do I want to look at? And so I had Caden Green listed as a tackle because he was in tackles. He's not a tackle. I mean, he played guard both years he's been in college, and it's not like he has the build of a tackle nor the profile of a tackle. This guy's a guard through and through, you know? I mean, he's an NFL-sized guard. He's thick. Maybe like 6'5", 320, 325 maybe, what I pegged him at. I'm not sure what he's listed as. But, I mean, he's like, and even for a guard, he's an adequate athlete, solid, slightly above average, but not nearly a good enough athlete to play tackle. So I'm really wondering why he's there. Probably just a clerical error. But as far as Caden Green goes, I don't know. I was expecting to like him a lot more. He's number 57 on the consensus board. I think he's the number 1 rated guard on NFL Draft Buzz, but whatever. And then I think he's pretty highly rated in the PFF Big Board as well. I mean, he's rated number 55. So it seems like everybody's just pretty high on this guy. And I don't like to talk bad on guys because I think there's a lot of things that Caden Green does well. It's just I didn't really see it as much with him. What's good about him is that like I said, he's very big, and I think the flashes are all there in the run game, and I think that's probably why people are sort of getting carried away with him, because they see the flashes, they see the build. It's like, okay, this is this domineering gap guard who also has solid athleticism. All right, I'm in. Where I saw the flashes of it, I saw the ability to drive guys out of their gap, but I just didn't see that all the time. You know, it just felt like half the time or for every play he did that, there's the next 3 plays, he's kind of just not playing timidly, because I do think he wants to hit guys, but it's like he's just not really hitting them as much as he could. He's not driving them as far as he can. His hand placement, I don't know. One play it's good, the next play it's really sloppy, and he slips off guys and lets them back into the play when they really shouldn't be. I want to see him finish blocks more often because I know he can do all of it. I've seen him drive guys backwards. I've seen him look dominant. I've seen him finish these plays and take guys beyond the whistle, but I'm just not seeing it every play. And that's my main issue with him. And then that's in the run game, which is probably his strength. In pass protection, I don't think he gave up too many pressures, but maybe it was just the games I watched. It seemed like he was giving up quite a few pressures because, again, his hand technique is just kind of sloppy. It's high and outside. It's late. It's too early. He gets really over aggressive, gets over his skis a lot, which allows guys to just discard him. I don't think he's got like the best balance of all time either. It's not bad, but it's definitely enough that I wrote it down. And I wonder if this is sort of like, which is another thing that I'm like, why in the world was he projected as a tackle? Because I actually think he's lacking arm length for the guard position, So I'm wondering if like he's just kind of letting guys steer him. He's letting guys into their chest because he just can't. I don't know if it's an arm length or an issue or if it's like an extension issue, because there's a lot of guys who people think have poor arm length, but no, they have NFL sized arms. It's just they can't really extend. They can't completely loosen that shoulder blade and get everything out of it. And I'm wondering if that's Caden Green, because he doesn't look like he has poor arm length, but it really shows up sometimes where he's just guys are just, most defenders seem to be able to reach into his chest, and Caden Green just can't quite get the arm out there, so he can't really control the point of engagement. He's just kind of inconsistent in space as well. And another, he's not that tall, but he really doesn't play with much leverage. He drifts upwards. It's just kind of an incomplete player, which makes sense though, because I think he's either a redshirt junior or true junior. This is a younger dude who hasn't played much college football. So I want to see him get more reps. And I think there is stuff to improve here. I just want to see it more consistently with Caden Green. And I feel like that was negative, and I don't like to be negative about these guys because, again, I mean, there's already too much negativity on these players who are being up for the NFL draft, and these guys aren't even up for the NFL draft yet. So I try not to be too negative, especially in summer scouting. But I want to pump the brakes a little bit on Caden Green, and I want to see it more consistently. I want you to show me a little bit better, but the flashes are all there, and I think that this is a guy who. I said he's maybe a little bit timid sometimes. There's never a question. He's given 100% out there. So I want to make that clear. This is a guy who clearly loves the game, clearly loves to hit dudes as well. So I do think he will get better this year. I just want to see it happen before I crown him.
Caden Green, true junior, like you said, for Missouri, played every snap of his 2024 season at left guard. However, back when he was at Oklahoma in 2023, first game of his career, 38 snaps, Arkansas State, left tackle, baby, blindside protector. He's got it in his blood. So,
there you go.
I mean, it doesn't sound like he's a left tackle at the NFL level, but we'll see.
Must have been
it's
very
where it started.
Apparent.
Maybe it's where it ended.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We'll have to see on that. I don't think he's a tackle. I think he's a guard. He's also not a center. He's just true guard.
All right, who did you want to go to next? I know I have Jaden Roberts at 9, and then I have Josh Thompson, another guy you didn't watch, at 7.
Yeah. You want to take Thompson?
Sure, I can take him. So Josh Thompson was a starting offensive tackle for Northwestern in 2023. For his 2024 season, he kicked inside guard. He also spent some time on the bench. He is a fifth-year senior. This is his last year of eligibility, 6'5", 321. So at least in terms of how he's listed, a pretty stocky player, a bigger tackle, and it's translated really nicely to guard. He can move people a little bit. He certainly works hard. I think that his pad level is pretty decent, especially for, a healthily sized guard at 6'5". What really stands out about him is the offensive tackle traits. So I was watching him when I was watching Caleb Tiernan, right? Why do I think it's Blake Tiernan?
It's Caleb. Blake Miller. You're combining them.
Blake Tiernan. That could be. So when I was watching Caleb Tiernan, I also took a look at Josh Thompson, and so I didn't know anything about his background. He wasn't a guy I went in looking to watch, and I said, this looks like a guard that has an offensive tackle background, because he was gaining a ton of depth in his hard post kick sets where a lot of guards, every drop back kind of looks the same. Josh Thompson wants to form a deep pocket. Another thing that really stood out to me was his arm length, a first contact machine whenever he wants it. I thought he brought some nice hand techniques as well. He has a good feint. He knows how to replace his hands, and a 1% pressure rate at guard in 2024. So that's not like as absolutely stellar as it sounds like. That would be like elite territory for a tackle. That is still really, really nice for a guard. I also think he's a guy who can lead the way at the second level if you want to run him on a full block or something like that. He's a good athlete. The reason that he's this low on the list is you can tell that he's only spent one season at guard. There's definitely a learning curve there. His stance is a little awkward right now, where sometimes he comes out of his stance, and I mentioned he plays with knee bend. Sometimes his butt just kind of comes up and it gives defensive tackles the chance to smack him in the upper back and put him on the ground. And now you're really screwed. And that play's blown up immediately. So I know it's in there. He just has to work on his flexibility out of his stance. You also see oversetting and undersetting, which I mentioned, like you don't see a lot of guards really getting depth and forming a deep pocket. You also don't see much over and undersetting with guards because they're kind of just trying to stay in front. And I liked that Josh Thompson is trying to do the pro stuff. He's trying to coach himself up to be a really high-end pro pass protector. But it's also just tougher than trying to use his athleticism and his arm length to keep guys in front. So he needs to clean that up. There's some stuff with strike accuracy as well. Sometimes he's early, gives defensive tackles a chance to swat those hands down or rip around him. But I saw a lot of pro potential there. A good athlete, a guy with traits. Coaches have said good things about his work ethic in the articles that I read. So Thompson's a little bit of a projection. He's probably my biggest bet in this interior offensive line class, but there's a reason LSU went out there and got him to be a starter on a really high-quality football team, and I'm excited to see where his 2025 season goes.
Well, you got to take swings, and that's one thing I'll commend you for. You are not afraid to take swings. I mean, that is really great. I mean, thing about summer scouting, you're seeing guys who nobody else is, and watch it happen. Next year, Josh Thompson being talked about as a draft prospect, talked about as fourth round, third round, first round guy. You'll know who told you first. It'll be us. Congrats to the Balls Talk Sports podcast, because it's just gonna happen. That's a great call out though. Definitely be interested to go back and watch some more Northwestern tape. See if it lives up to the hype, which I'm guessing it will.
One thing that surprised me, because I had never heard of this guy, he actually is in the draftable range on the consensus big board. Most of the time it's like, well, this guy grades out pretty good on PFF, but I never heard about him. Sure enough, not even on the board. No one's aware of this guy yet. Thompson's starting to get a little bit of love, so hopefully I can be ahead of the curve there.
There you go. Yeah, there's some guys just not on the consensus board, and they're like decent consensus. It seems like
my boy Wachovia still isn't on there.
He isn't? Oh, that's ridiculous.
Where is Isaiah Wachovia?
That's ridiculous.
I don't think Ahmad Moses is either. By the way, I went back and watched Ahmad Moses. I think we see him like exactly the same. He was like
nice.
The safety top, so
because that was a take I had. I was like, Ahmad Moses and Wachovia aren't too far off, and I'm guessing you didn't arrive at that same take because you love Wachovia. I do too, just not as much as you do. But yeah, I like Moses a lot, so I'm glad you saw that too. Very good. This is what happens whenever ball knowers meet and they converge and they talk about these underrated prospects. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring light to some underrated prospects. All right. Who should we go to next? I think Basantis we both had at 8. Roberts I had at 7. You had at 9. And then Pregnan I had at 10. You had at 6.
Did you want to intro Jaden Roberts?
Yeah, let's do that, because I don't think it's that difficult of an evaluation. I mean, I think you just take 90% of what we said about Tyler Booker last year, reduce all of it by about 10%, and you got Jaden Roberts. It's really like they copy pasted Tyler Booker a year later, and we're like, you know what, this guy's pretty good. Let's do it again, right? Why not? Because he's a very similar player. It's just reduce the skill by about 10%. And you quickly realize Tyler Booker with about 10% less athleticism and 10% less technique is a different player. He's still very good, in my opinion. I like Roberts, and I think I like him a little bit more than you do, considering I would have no problem with him at 5. I didn't see much of a difference. Like, there's a tier difference. Slightly a tier difference between him and the other Alabama interior offensive lineman we'll talk about later, but I didn't see that much of a difference. Really, when we're talking about Roberts, we're talking about a guy who is just your classic gap guard. he's just going to obliterate linemen out of the gap. You tell him we need to clear this gap, and it's just going to be cleared most of the time. All right. Because that's what Robert does really well. He's massive. Like, I think he's listed at 6'5", 320, but there's no way he isn't bigger than that. He's stocky. He is an NFL guard through and through, wide and yoked up. I mean, this guy is big, right? And he is strong too. Like, there are big guys who aren't that strong. I think we'll talk about a couple of them later on this list. Or like, why aren't you stronger? Not an issue with Roberts, all right? This guy just moves dudes like it's not an issue. Arguably, let me see if I did have this in yeah, he's the strongest lineman in this class period. Or wait, maybe not strongest lineman. No, he's the strongest lineman in this class, tied with Francis Maigoa. All right. That's how good Roberts is at this. And when he lands the hands in run blocking, which is often, all right, he's just able to wash guys out. It's not an issue. Choppy feet, gains leverage. It's just kind of automatic with him. Now, like, really the issue comes when you ask him to do more than that. I don't think he's the best athlete of all time, and that's why he's lower, because I like him a lot, and I don't think he's a bad pass protector. It's just like, you ask him to wall off the counter against a twitchy edge rusher, he's just not gonna be able to do it. He got beat by a lot of guys who are just twitchier, more athletic, and could just dip the shoulder around his arms because he didn't have surgical arm or hand technique. He just didn't. And that's where I want to see him improve the most. I think you are a good processor of what's happening in front of you. I think you have good hand technique. I think you have good footwork for your size. I just want to see it be great. I want to see it be elite. And that's a high standard, but you're an Alabama guard who's not the best athlete of all time. You need to meet that high standard. I think he's going to be a good NFL starter, a good NFL player, solid, a fine NFL starter no matter what. But I do think he has the potential to be something really nice, maybe not a Pro Bowler, but a reliable starter. And I want to see him reach that because he is such a fun player to watch. But yeah, just your classic phone booth warrior. If he gets a hold of you, you're not getting out of it. Finisher's mentality, whatever you want to call it. And one thing I'll say about his hands, early in the game, almost always accurate. As we get later into the game, sometimes they're slipping. I'm going high and outside a lot more. So I think this may be a fatigue issue as well. So if we get more conditioning there, because he's only a redshirt junior, I believe, maybe we start to develop more hand consistency. So count me in as a Roberts liker. I'm a Jaden Roberts guy. I just want to see more things improve, which he has time to improve them. That's the thing with Roberts. Not like Booker last year. Everything he's done, it's probably about, I think there's room to improve. With Jaden Roberts, I do think he will be a starter in the league, despite some athletic deficiencies, which I don't think are like bottom of the barrel, by the way. I don't think they're great, but it's not like awful.
So Jaden Roberts is a 2-year starter at guard for Alabama. However, he had to wait his turn, and he's actually a 5th-year senior. So this is going to be his last year of eligibility, and that's a decent part in explaining why I'm lower on him. However, you were talking about how big and yoked up of a football player this is. He's a man mountain. You immediately notice who he is. When you ask him to pull, the guy is kicking out just disappears. I don't know if you've seen that clip of the Tennessee Titans cheerleader who just gets swallowed by the mascot. Post-production, Victor, please, if you can find that, put that up.
You're killing me.
It's always great when the mascots and cheerleaders get together. Whoa! Engulfed! That's not right.
And the announcer just goes, engulfed. That's how it felt watching Jaden Roberts, because he's got the broad shoulders, and I think he's got long arms for a guard as well. I will say, I think we disagree a little bit as far as his drive power, because I saw some struggles to get pad level and some struggles to sustain in the run game. I also didn't love his balance. He felt a little bit top heavy at times. But I'm not denying that this is an extremely strong football player. I think he has the best anchor, not maybe just of any interior offensive lineman, but maybe of anyone I watched overall. Guys just don't move him backwards. The way that he can dig in the heels and use that big lower half to just stall out power moves was excellent. And I completely see the Tyler Booker comp, because my favorite thing about Tyler Booker was how composed he was. It felt like he was maybe not a babysitter, because Alabama's offensive line doesn't need a babysitter, but just the guy who always knows what's going on, and you're not going to catch him off guard. You're not going to catch him panicking. That is with maybe 10% taken off, Jaden Roberts. I liked his footwork, especially for a big guy. I thought he was calm, mirroring rushers. I thought he had a good eye for picking up stunts. You just know what you're getting from him, both as a run blocker and as a pass protector. But mediocre athlete. I'm not going to say he's a terrible athlete. I think he's an NFL athlete, and I think he's probably like 5% better of an athlete than Tyler Booker was, because I was really low on Booker in that regard. But he's not a scheme fit for his own offense. It's not just like if you're the Miami Dolphins, you're not drafting him. If you run like 65% zone, you're probably not using a pick on Jaden Roberts. So there's some scheme dependency there. And like you said, against twitchy rushers, against counters, that's just not going to be his game. Even though his arms are long, I think that can be a crutch at times, and he just kind of puts his hands out there. Not a lot of variance, easy to chop down, some weaknesses against the rip move, some weaknesses against bend. You know what you're getting with Roberts. It is at worst a good backup guard and a guy you can trust to be a team player and a good presence in the locker room. I don't know if he's a starter, but I think he could be. So that's why Roberts is 9 on my list.
Yeah, I think we see him very similarly. Just a damn good football player. Like you said, you know what you're getting. All right, what do we want to go to now?
Do you want to do Besantis?
Yeah, we have him the same, number 8, right?
Let's go. It'll be interesting to see if this is our like only perfect match, because we have a lot of the same guys in the top 5, I think. We might have some. We'll see.
Maybe. Like, we'll see.
All right. Do you want me to intro Besantis?
Yeah.
All right. So he's listed at 6'6", 320 pounds, and he is a true junior headed into this season because he started for Texas A&M as an offensive tackle, a 4-star recruit out the gate, and he was a freshman All-American. He kicked inside to guard in 2024, and I really thought that looked more natural to him. Yeah. I thought that the athleticism played a lot better, where at offensive tackle, he was a freshman All-American, but you don't have a lot of good offensive tackles that are freshmen usually, and that shows because maybe this is an unpopular take, but I thought he was a borderline liability in the film I watched of him playing offensive tackle. Just struggled with all the facets, struggled to take away speed. I saw him lose to power 6 times in a row one game. That is probably a high score for the most times I've ever seen a guy lose to power. The athleticism just wasn't playing at that position. And A&M identified that because they just have an embarrassment of riches at offensive tackle. I mean, I don't think Trey Zune is an NFL guy, but there you go. Trey Zune can play. I have a draftable grade on, I think it's Demetrius Crownover. They have another backup offensive tackle who would be starting at 60% of teams across the country. So they moved Besantis inside, and now his athleticism is plus, and you see him reaching the second level consistently. I think his strike points are getting better. He's getting more confident. He's showing more variance with his hands. And this is when I really got sold on Besantis, when I looked at his PFF profile and I noticed that I'm actually watching his worst games. And to close out the year against Missouri, Mississippi State, Auburn, Texas, and USC, 2 pressures allowed. He was absolutely lights out. I think as he gets stronger, he's going to be a better drive blocker. I see some knee bend. I think he has the explosion out of his stance to reach block. He's just still a little bit green, and that's what you would expect from a junior. He's still developing. I thought his anticipation was rough. I thought he let guys cross his face a lot, and when you're not anticipating, it's basically impossible to have good footwork because you're not sure exactly where you want to go. So it's not even a matter of executing it. It's a matter of knowing what to do. So I want to see that get coached up. I don't think his punches are super strong yet. He throws a healthy amount of them, but I don't see a ton of stopping power. And I think as he gets stronger and as he gets more confident, he's going to play up to his weight better. And there are moments where the pads come up, especially as a puller, where I just want to see him deck guys and use that size-strength combo, and I don't see all of it yet. So you coach up Besantis' technique, and I think that's what we're going to get because he is headed into year 3, and this is a guy with the football character and the recruiting pedigree to get a lot better. I think we're talking about a potential Pro Bowl offensive guard. We just have to see it happen.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with most of the things you said. A couple of things to add, but yeah, overall, Besantis is similar to what you said. It's just a work in progress, but he's a guy that you've seen put in the work. You know, he's not a guy that, I've got all the tools, but I've never really put it all together and it's just, you've never shown much. No, Bisontis has seen linear growth, and especially this last year at guard. Like you said, he just got better throughout the year and you could see it. He let a guy cross his face on a fire zone or a stunt, right? He'd let it happen in the first quarter. The third quarter, they try that same look and he picks it up. You can see him learning on the job. And that really impressed me with Bisontis, and like you said, maybe his athleticism's a liability at left tackle, but hell, it was a really big plus at guard. The move to guard was absolutely not only necessary, but a really good thing for him. And fuck, man, we're talking about his drive ability. That was what impressed me the most in flashes, right? There were just plays. Then that's really Bisontis for you. There are plays where you're like, oh my goodness, that is a Pro Bowl guard. Where he's 6'6", but he just sinks to the ground lower than a guy who's like 6'2", and all of the strength looks elite, even though it sometimes, like you said, I really thought it was lacking in the punches, but like there's room to grow on that frame. There's room to grow. There's more strength to be added, but it looked like sometimes he was able to tap into that well and really unlock it and just let loose. And he would just create these gaping holes in the run concept, like a bulldozer moving guys out of the way. And what makes it special is that you see him do this, and then guess what? I'm just going to throw you to the ground, and then I'm going to flit onto another guy and do it again, all right? Because he's a great climber. So there's a lot to like about Chase Bisontis. Like you said, I mean, it's just he's new to the position of guard. He hasn't played much. He needs to improve the hand technique. He's pretty awful timing right now. The accuracy is there. In small doses, it's there. Again, high and outside. He actually has his fair share of being too low as well, where he'll kind of let guys steer him around because of that. But I did see quite a bit of good accuracy. I just want to see improve. The timing and the processor, like you said, needs a lot of work, but you can see it improving, and that's what gives you the hope heading into his true junior year with the recruitment pedigree, with the SEC coaches teaching him up. A Texas A&M team that looks to be really good this next year with Mike Elko calling the shots. I think Bisontis could have a really great year, and we're talking about him as a day 2, maybe even a day 1 if everything goes perfect guard. So really impressed me. More than I thought he would.
A really good developmental prospect. Like
Absolutely.
When I checked out his grading profile on PFF, I wasn't expecting to be impressed. I thought maybe I would be lower on him. And at first I kind of was, but then I thought about his trajectory and the player that he's turning into, and just when this is probably a starter, and you draft that pretty high. So that's why I have my number 8 grade on him. And the best part is, this probably isn't even the last Texas A&M player we're going to talk about today.
Probably.
All right. A little teaser there. Okay, who'd you want to go to next? Pregnon?
Yeah, do you want to lead him off? Because I think you're higher.
I am. I have him at 6. However, you touched on a similar thing to this. This whole part of the list is all in a very similar tier. Like behind the scenes on my doc, this is the 3rd to 4th round tier. Guys that I view as starters, but probably capped ceiling, probably scheme dependent. And so there's not a huge difference between Emmanuel Pregnon and Jaden Roberts. In fact, they're actually similar players. Pregnon is listed at 6'5", 315. He is a 6th-year senior. He was a 0-star recruit, spent 2 years at the bench at Wyoming, then finally got on the field and transferred to USC, where he played 2 pretty strong seasons. I think I have that right. I think he was at USC for 2 seasons and only started 1 at Wyoming. So. And now he's at Oregon. Oregon brought in another guy, right?
I don't think so.
What transfer did Oregon get? Oh, I'm just thinking of their center who, spoiler alert, I'm going to be talking about later. So,
yeah.
Yep. Oregon goes out and gets Emmanuel Pregnon, and this is a gap-type guard who just wants to drive you off the ball. He's a people mover, and that's always refreshing to see because offensive linemen are getting lighter, and it feels like that archetype is getting sparser and sparser, or at least that archetype, and they also have the athleticism to play at the NFL level, which I think Emmanuel Pregnon does. There is some ability to get to the second level and do damage there, and I really liked his angle discipline as well. One thing that really clicked for me in evaluating offensive line, and particularly run blocking, is sometimes maybe a year ago, I would see in offensive lineman whiff where he kind of goes flying, or maybe he ends up on his belly, and it's like, oh, that's a minus rep because he missed his assignment. Yeah, but did his assignment have a chance to tackle the ball carrier or cut off a pursuit angle? If the answer is no, he did his job as a blocker. And I saw a lot of that with Emmanuel Pregnon. He understands how runs are supposed to develop, and he is going to safeguard that alley and make it hell to run through. I really liked his technique as a pass protector. I watched, I think, his worst game pass blocking for PFF, where he graded out at like a 40 or something really poor like that. And I was just waiting for the stream of bad pass blocking plays to come in for guys to be beating him left and right. And I just didn't see it. I really liked his hands. I thought his strikes were accurate and on time. I saw some ability to chain punches together and use one-handed punches and two-handed punches and keep rushers guessing. And I even liked most of his mirroring ability. Like, it's not perfect. He's not a former offensive tackle or anything like that, but I saw some ability to go side to side and keep guys in front. The hang up with Emmanuel Pregnon is he's just a really low upside player. And obviously he's in year 6. He's taken a long time to get where he is. He's not a great athlete. I don't think he's a very good decelerator where there's just some clunkiness in space to him. He struggles to hang with twitchy rushers. And I had to kind of only like play this critique into my scouting report like 70% because I watched him against Michigan where he's going up against Josiah Stewart and Derek Moore on stunts. And it's like, okay, can any 315-pound offensive guard ever take that away? And it didn't help that like his tackle was just hanging him out to dry, not passing anything off to him. But even in other games, there were issues with really athletic rushers. I think he has shorter arms. He doesn't hang on to linebackers at the second level very well. The one thing I wonder if you can coach out of him, he's just late out of his stance all the time.
Thank you. Fuck.
And his first step isn't bad, but probably 20% of plays, he's just triggering later than everybody else. And when you don't have that recovery athleticism, you are behind the 8 ball immediately. And in the pros, you are going to be in trouble. So I think if he can fix that part of his game, we're talking about probably a Madden 73 overall starting guard in Emmanuel Pregnon, where you know what you're getting and you're ready to plug him in on day one. But that change has got to happen. It's still a player with pretty limited upside. I did like what I saw, though.
I was waiting for you to mention that the entire time because I cannot find that anywhere. I've looked at so many Pregnon scouting reports because I thought I was going insane.
Nope.
And it's just like a half of every play. I'm like, is he getting off the line like half a second later than everybody else? Is that just a thing that's happening that I'm imagining? No, I mean, it just completely controls the evaluation for me. I think it's like, I think it just, most of his weaknesses, it explains. Well, not most of them. There are a few things, but like the reason why I'm think lower on him is because it's just that applies to pretty much every area of his game. I mean, you talk about the issues that happen. So there are really 2 issues with him that really, it's like, yeah, he gets off the line half of every play. He gets off the line about half a second late, which is just, I've never seen anything like this since maybe like, if you remember Gervin Dexter from a couple years ago, who would
terrible
just like,
get off.
Yeah, it's not terrible get off.
Waits.
It's just, yeah, he would just stand there. And it was worse than Pregnon because it was like more than half of every play. But it's shades of that. So it's like he's getting beat to the outside shoulder, but I don't think he's a bad athlete, and you pair this with below average arm length. And I really just saw a lot of issues with him. He's just always late to the engagement. So when you're late to the engagement and you have short arms, he can't control that, right? Because if you let somebody get their hands in your chest early, they control the rep. Now your only hope is to be able to kind of steady yourself and get your arms on them and try to start steering them, but he doesn't have the arm length to do that. So it leads to just a lot of dead reps where he's just getting thrown around because he was late off the line. And oh man, it just kind of controlled half of the plays. And then you pair this with the fact that when he's going in the run game, right, he's getting off the line really late. So he has to overcompensate. He's either overcompensating or this is just part of his game. He's just being very aggressive, which makes it so much easier for him to get thrown around as well. When you put your entire torso ahead of your waist, you're just off balance. They can push you everywhere else, So that was another issue with Pregnon. Oh man, because I think if you fix this part of the game, I think he could be a really, really nice backup, because there may not be a better pulling guard in this class. He just brought the boom. Like we talked about Jaden Roberts, how he just
engulfed
guys. Pregnon's not the size. He doesn't have the Jaden Roberts size, but he has the tenacity. He has the, like, it just looks like it hurts when he hits you. There was a couple of times where he just hit guys to the ground, and I was dumbfounded, and also I thought that his processor was only average. I saw guys cross his face a lot, like you said, and it wasn't just in the Michigan game, but yeah, that tackle, by the way, that tackle was not helping him out a lot. No offense to USC's left tackle, but that guy's not going on my board. Okay. So, I just, it's such a weird issue that I've never seen with a guard before, at least this pronounced. I did like that you called out, I think the most impressive part about him and why he was able to recover some of that issue in pass protection was because he just had excellent hand usage. I mean, this is clearly a guy who's played a lot of college football. His timing was very good. His accuracy was very good. I'm getting inside in the chest area and just driving him up, and he just understood momentum, and he was able to rob defenders of it, and that really impressed me. So even when you did get behind the sticks, you were able to recover because of that. And whenever he took him a while, but whenever he was able to loosen his hips, open them up, I really did see some nice recovery athleticism, right? So whenever he did actually get a runway, he got off the line correctly, he was able to kind of mirror well, and even when he got beat, kind of use those strong arms. One thing we didn't talk about with Jaden Roberts, but I really wanted to mention, he can kind of, this is more true for Jaden Roberts than Pregnon, but like Pregnon, again, he would beat him. He can redirect him with one arm, and that's a really impressive feat for a guard. He was able to do that when he was able to turn his hips. Roberts, on the other hand, I'm pretty convinced that you could just have him only using one arm for every rep, and it would look about the same, because he's got the strongest arms I've ever seen in a guard. Like, it's not ever seen, but man, he was just controlling guys with one arm. So I felt like I was kind of going insane with Pregnon's evaluation, because I was like, it's just one issue that I've just never seen before, and it controls all of it. Also, he's just got terrible sustain, in my opinion. I just never saw him sustain a block. It's just bad. So like you said, it's a very low upside, but I do think if you can improve that, that's why he's lower for me, because I think it's low floor as well, because if he never improves that, he's not an NFL player. You know what I mean? But if you do improve that, which I have to think he will, there's just no way he doesn't. If he can, then we're looking at a high floor, low upside kind of guy who will probably go in day 3, but a team should be really happy with if they run a lot of gap.
First of all, I like that you call out his arm strength, because if you look up Emmanuel Pregnon, he's just like 90% bicep and tricep. He's got a super athletic build, and you see that in the arms because they're tree trunks, but not in like the conventional sense where you have a ton of fat. So obviously the power profile plays for him. I agree as a puller, where you ask him to take away a linebacker in space, it's going to get dicey. But you ask him to pull and kick out the end man. You ask him to pull and kick out the end man on the line of scrimmage. That guy is just out of the play. And then finally, I really want to know whether the snap timing thing is an anticipation thing or whether it's a reaction time thing, because one of those is coachable and one of them is not. So I have an idea. This summer, I go to the University of Oregon. I walk around until I see Emmanuel on campus. I yell heads up and then whip a Frisbee at him. And if he catches it, then he improves because on my board, because I know that the reaction time is there. And then I run away as fast as I can, and I look over my shoulder for the rest of my life. But he would definitely be higher on my board after that.
For the pod, you got to do it for the pod. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have this 6'5", 320 hulking pound man that is 90% biceps and triceps. We need to know if his reaction time is good or not, so we can move him up a couple of rounds. But like you said, something we need to know. And so I'll go with Elson to the University of Oregon. I'm just going to bring my phone and record you from the bushes. People need to see this. We need hits on the YouTube. All right, man.
We'll make a 3 a.m. gone wrong video out of it, but it's real.
Football podcaster attacks University of Oregon offensive lineman.
Dies.
For the record, Emmanuel Pregnon, if you're watching this, we both do love your game, and we would never attack you with a Frisbee. We'd probably hit you with like I don't know, something a little bit softer, Maybe like a
or something harder, so we at least have a chance.
yeah. Well, okay. Well, okay. We're not trying to knock him out because, like,
We're
I mean,
not making threats here.
yeah, no. Like, we'll throw maybe like a kickball. Then we could, like, he'd throw it back, and we could play, and then. Well, I mean, the one of us that he throws it back to probably dies, but the other one, you get some good hacky-sack time going. So,
not a bad idea.
Yeah, this is kind of derailed. Let's go to the next guy on the list.
All right. Do you have anybody from your 6 to 10 left? Because I don't know if I do.
I have Logan Jones left as my 6, I think.
All right, then why don't you intro Logan Jones? Because I'm done on 6 to 10.
All right. Yeah, so Logan Jones, I'm not gonna lie, I don't feel the most confident about this evaluation. And I actually don't even have any notes to back this up because I spent the last 45 minutes before the pod aired watching Logan Jones. So this is an immediate reaction. But after I watched him, I was like, I just don't know if I can leave this guy out of my top 10. So Logan Jones is a 3-year starter at Iowa who squats over 700 pounds. And that's about all I have to say. That's the evaluation. I think sometimes we overthink these things, and we really shouldn't. No, that's not the issue. But that is really fucking impressive because he's like sub 300. Now they say it's sub 300. I thought he looked like 300, around about there, on tape. But when you watch Logan Jones, he really does fit the bill of an Iowa lineman, other than the fact that he is just a little undersized. He's a guy who moves dudes in the run game and then has some technique issues in pass protection. The biggest difference you see with Logan Jones is versus like a Gettings Dunker type that we talked about last week in the episode that never aired. Is that
I hated him, by the way.
Yeah, Elson despised Gettings Dunker. I mean, it was incredible. I had him in my top 10, and I thought I was going to, because Gettings Dunker, I mean, he's a relatively high profile prospect.
Yep.
And I had him 9 in my top 10. And I thought, okay, I might have to go to bat saying, all right, I don't know if he's all that. But no, Elson was like, he's like the 5th lowest on my big board. And I'm like, oh boy.
He's like the 12th lowest.
12th lowest.
Actually, let me see where he is on my overall draft board. He is searching Dunker. Okay, I currently have him as my number 64 class of 2026 prospect. Probably about 20% of the guys I watch, I wind up saying, nope, they're definitely not in this year's class. He has a 7th round grade. So I've watched about 32 or 33 prospects I like less than Jennings Dunker. But go on.
Wow. Okay. I'm really excited for hopefully at the end of summer, before the season starts, if we have time, we're able to do just an overview of this class, everything that we've learned, do a full big board reveal and things like that. That would be really fun. And we can get into it there because I think at the end of the summer, we'll end up watching more guys than we did last year. Like, legitimately.
I'm already there.
Like,
it's really not healthy.
Wow. Yep. No, I mean, I don't think I'm already there because I did watch somewhere between 80 and 100. No, way more than that. Like, I did full write-ups somewhere between 80 and 100, and I saw quite a bit of about 100 or so other guys. So like I remembered about 180 to 200 worth of prospects, enough to talk about them when it came draft time. And the rest of them, just one is not available on my board. So, but yeah, we've watched quite a bit of guys for this pod and more to come. So that's going to be an exciting episode. But back to Logan Jones. We talk about Jennings Dunker, and the biggest issue with him was just I don't think he's a good athlete. Logan Jones is a really good athlete. Like, I mean, he's just really impressive. When you're watching an Iowa offensive lineman, you don't expect the first thing that you read about him will be he's just a really good athlete. And it's so evident when he's running outside zone that he just never misses his landmark. He's always there, and sometimes he's there early. But then you pair this with, I think, really good strength for that size, where he's just kind of able to move guys. Like, I don't think he's the best drive blocker of all time, but I'd definitely say it's a plus. Like, he is driving guys out of the gap, and he's doing it consistently and really well with good hand placement and timing to hit guys and move them. And the real fascinating thing about this prospect is that he's doing all this as a 6'3", 300-pound center, and I feel like he's playing rather upright. You teach him how to use leverage, oh my God, we have got something. And I'm not saying he never does. It's just I really do think that he's playing a lot more upright than he should be. So if you teach him how to more consistently use leverage, I think we've really got something as a run blocker. So Logan Jones really impressed me as a run blocker. As a pass protector, he was nothing. He wasn't a liability or anything, but he didn't wow me. His technique was inconsistent, but there were flashes of good hand technique, of course. And I really do think that he was good accuracy wise. I want to see the timing improve. I saw him make a lot of pre-snap call-outs, and I really did think that I was really great at picking up blitzes, and everybody knew exactly where they had to go, and I think that was a lot on Logan Jones. But when it came to post-snap processing of stunts and blitzes, I just wasn't. I was kind of disappointed. The guy's crossed his face. You know, he missed some things. I don't think it was as a negative, but I was kind of disappointed for a guy that I thought really was the catalyst, because I think they allowed 20 sacks last year, which was really impressive in the Big Ten. So I really did like Logan Jones. I don't know how he's going to end up panning out in the league, because again, I just watched him, haven't as much time to marinate. But also he's just kind of a guy that is very rare, a run blocking specialist who's kind of undersized and is a good athlete, but doesn't use the things that an undersized guy would, like leverage, and then in pass protection, he's not as good, which, like an undersized lineman, they're always going to be better at pass protection than you are at run blocking. You just don't see this kind of guy often. It kind of reminded me of your dude, Aaron Brewer. Like, you love this guy, Aaron Brewer. You love Aaron Brewer. So I was like,
I wish I saw that.
That's why I was a little surprised that you didn't like Logan Jones, because I was like, this is kind of Aaron Brewer. And we've seen Aaron Brewer work in Miami. So he's a unique player. I do think he will work. And another thing that really impressed me about him, when you've got an undersized guy, and we have a few undersized centers on this list, they really can't anchor that well. That wasn't an issue for Jones. He was really able to pull that anchor out. And again, even without much leverage. So there's a lot of strength here. And that's because, this guy squats over 700 pounds. That is ridiculous. And it shows when he's anchoring. So he did get beat sometimes there, though. So there's some stuff not like about Logan Jones' pass protection. I do think this is a guy that works out in the NFL. I don't know if he's more of just a really good backup or if he starts, but I think if he does start, if you get him in the right system, he could be a really good pro. So I'm just going to bet on the pedigree, 3-year starter in the Big Ten, a guy who seems like a great leader on that offensive line, who is that strong, that small, who looks like he could put in more size, and is that good of a run blocker and that good of an athlete. I'm going to bet that he's going to work out rather than not.
Man, Victor, I can't believe I'm saying this, but you're making me want to go back and watch another game of Iowa, because I watched 3 Iowa games and it feels like we've disagreed on all of the Iowa prospects that we're talking about, but not just like from a value perspective, from a fundamental perspective, because
we both love Caleb Johnson.
That's true.
That's
Caleb
all that
Johnson
matters.
is just an absolute stud. I didn't hate Bo Stevens as well on their offensive line. I have a draftable grade on him at guard. He's like my guard number 12 right now, but I didn't like Dunker and I didn't like Logan Jones, and we clearly just see this unit very differently. You mentioned you thought Logan Jones played closer to 300 pounds. I thought he looked really small.
Really?
I thought he played sub 290. Wow. I thought he played sub 285, maybe even 280. And I see some of the lower body strength, especially at his size. It doesn't surprise me that he squats a whole hell of a lot, because I think his legs are really small, but also because he's really strong. It's the upper body strength that I'm so concerned about. I think he's going to have bottom of the barrel arm length. I think he's going to have bottom of the barrel hand size. I didn't really see any sustain to capitalize on that impressive zone blocking ability. And as a size outlier, you got to be a really good athlete. I think he is a really good athlete. I think he's a 7.5 out of 10 athlete. But you read scouting reports on Logan Jones, and people talk about him like he's, spoiler alert, Parker Brailsford type of athletic. And I just didn't see that with Logan Jones. By the way, in case you don't feel the same way, I adored Brailsford's athleticism.
Oh, I did too. I'd never heard his name out. That's his name. Like I didn't realize that was his name. That sounds like I'd never heard his name out loud before, and I did not. That was just a weird sounding name. Sorry, it just threw me for a loop. I agree with you on Brailsford, though.
I know what you mean. Logan Jones, I believe in high school, maybe at like a Spark combine or something, did a verified 4.39. Is that 3 cone or is that the short shuttle? That's the short shuttle, right?
Yeah.
Because I checked, and that would have been the best among offensive linemen at the combine. And I want to see that type of foot speed with him. And I just don't. I thought that his ability to square up linebackers at the second level was honestly pretty mediocre. You didn't love him in pass protection, and I thought I was going insane because I didn't love him either. Tagged for a 0.9% pressure rate allowed in 2024. And it's just like, I don't know what I'm watching. And he didn't allow any sacks. I felt like this was actually a really poorly called offensive line. Like, one of my negatives on him is tough to assign blame, but anchored a line that lived in terrible protection packages. I saw so much not being able to block 4 rushers with 5 offensive linemen, not being able to block the red dog blitz 5 rushers with a running back or a tight end in to protect. And I was just pulling my hair out because there was so much of a player coming free. And they weren't allowing sacks because this was the same thing with Jennings Dunker because Cade McNamara was running for his life and, for all his faults, was able to throw the ball out of bounds or scramble for 2-3 yards. So I'm not confident in my Logan Jones evaluation either, but I just saw a player who has a really uphill battle at the NFL level to succeed as a size outlier. By all accounts, seems like a hell of a football character dude. Really good academics, likes to get guys to the ground with that sort of wrestling mentality anytime he has the opportunity. But I just think really limited traits. And that was the big hang up on Logan Jones for me.
That's fair. I think I see his athleticism more as like an 8.5, but I don't think it's a pure 10. I don't. And that is what kind of, knocked him down for me. But I really did see that strength, that upper body strength. And again, it's just, if he can learn to play with leverage was really the thing for me because it just did feel like he was playing upright. And I thought he was closer to 300. So it's maybe just a misconception there from one of us, but we'll just split the difference. Say he's 290. How about that?
Fair enough.
Say he's
fair
290.
enough.
But if he is 290, then that means there's probably a lot of room to add strength onto him, which I already think is a possibility for him. So Logan Jones is a very interesting player. As far as the pass protection thing goes, I think I did see Cade McNamara running for his life a lot, and I think it was entirely self-imposed on himself. He's just awful. At quarterback, really, but he's awful in pocket presence. I thought most of the time where he was getting chased, it was because they had not accounted for him being there. Like, why are you right next to your tackle's ass when you're throwing a concept on the other side of the field? I don't think he was perfect. Logan Jones was perfect as far as like calling out protections. I just think a lot of it, I'm willing to put more of the blame on McNamara. But also, I did see a lot of blitzes cleverly called out. I saw Logan Jones seeing guys. I saw him communicating really well, which is, I think, a theme that we'll talk about with a couple of centers later on this list, and a couple of centers earlier, where it's like Tolleson, it really came in for me. It's like, I think you know football really well. I think you know what you're supposed to do. I'm not seeing you communicate what the other guys are supposed to do. That's a really high bar for a college center, but NFL centers they're the quarterbacks of the offensive line. I mean, so are quarterbacks, but the centers are too, Jason Kelce was Jason Kelce. I mean, because he was awesome at football, but also because he was one of the best communicators to ever play the position. And I think Logan Jones is a good communicator. So yeah, we see him a little bit differently, but that's all right. And I'm fascinated to see how this next season goes because so much of him is tied into that size. And if he puts on weight and keeps the athletic ability, then I think we're talking about something. If he puts on strength when he puts on the weight, then we're really cooking with something. I just really liked him. And I probably will come down a little bit because I always do like more guys more right after I watch them. So he may end up a little bit lower on this list, probably lower than Jaden Roberts and Connor Lew at the very least. So we'll see. But an interesting player, to say the least, Logan Jones is.
And I would be a little more willing to bet on him if he wasn't 60 or senior. That definitely did some heavy lifting.
I didn't know that actually. I do my research afterwards. I thought he was a 4th-year senior. So that does knock him a little bit. That does knock him a little bit. Probably below Robert. So we'll say he's my 7.
All right. So you have Connor Lew left, right? Who I didn't watch.
Well, he's my 5. So we can go start to unveil the 5 through 1s however we like, or I can talk about Lew. I think either one's fine.
All right, so I will say that my 5 is Parker Brailsford, who we just mentioned.
Yeah. He's my 4.
All right. So did you want to do Connor Lou then, and then we can do Brailsford?
Yeah. So, well, what's your 4? Let's just, do you feel like that's something that we can reveal right now? It's a fine.
Yeah, my 4 is Iapani Lalaulu out of Oregon.
Okay. All right. So we have those 4s in. Yeah, well, I'll talk about Connor Lou for a second because again, I do think it's one that is not going to take me that long because I watched him right before I watched Logan Jones. And also I had to watch him on broadcast footage. I hate watching broadcast footage, but I had heard so many good things about Connor Lou that I really wanted to watch him. And basically, when you hear about Connor Lou, you're just like, yeah, okay. Everybody's just like, yeah, this guy's just a dog. You're watching him, and you're just like, and then you watch him, and you're like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of him. He's just kind of a dog. He's like 300 pounds, but man, he just he moves guys, and he just doesn't get moved himself. Like we're talking about Jaden Roberts holding guys up with one arm. I saw Connor Lou do that just like a little bit less than Jaden Roberts. It was really impressive how much strength he has in those arms. But also sometimes it looks like he doesn't have strength in those arms. I have no idea, but the flashes are there. He's a 3-year starter for Auburn in the SEC. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And it shows this is a guy who is just never going to miss a protection. You know, he's never going to miss that. And a stunt, a blitz, whatever is coming his way, he's just not going to let a guy cross his face. He is just a cerebral mind of the game. And one of these guys that I think can come in right away and play center for you. There are very few guys who can come right out of college, even college centers, who are good enough in the mental side of the game and that a refined technician enough to come in and immediately play center in the league because it is one of the hardest positions to play, period. It is the hardest position to play on the offensive line immediately, in my opinion. We're talking about a college. It is probably the hardest college to NFL transfer. Obviously, tackle, it's difficult because you're going from college athletes to NFL athletes, but center, you're going from college athletes to NFL athletes, but also you're having to call out against like Brian Flores every week. You're having to call out whatever diabolical shit Brian Flores is calling up against you. You got to figure out what he's doing. There's not many guys who can play day one center, and I think Lou is one of those guys. He's that smart, you know. And he's a good athlete, right? There's no complaints there. I mean, he's smaller, but it absolutely shows. He moves very well. I think he's a guy you can pull as the center, and it could be really impressive. And this is a guy who is not like Logan Jones. They're kind of polar opposites when it comes to undersized centers. This is the more classic undersized center who is just an elite technician as a pass protector. You know what I mean? This is just a guy who is always going to land the hands at the correct time. Well, okay, he's always going to land the hands. Lou has this weird thing, kind of like Dunker did, that we talked about last week, where he flashes the hands really, really early, some reps. But unlike Dunker, he didn't get beat because of it. He flashed the hands really early, and he would either fight with the hands and tie guys up a lot of the time, or he would replace really well with stunning accuracy and anticipation of what the defender was trying to do to him, which I thought was really impressive. And he just looks like an NFL lineman out there. It's really insane. Again, another things that he does that Logan Jones doesn't do. He uses leverage incredibly well. I mean, this is a guy who's, I think he's 6'3", and he just gets under the pads and moves. You know what I mean? I watched, I think, his sophomore year tape and his junior year tape, and I saw so much improvement as far as strength and anchor goes, because that is your biggest concern with Lou. It's probably going to be that frame. It's probably going to be that raw strength, which I don't necessarily think he has that at a level where it kind of caps his upside for me. He's just going to get driven back, but I did see it improve. You know, I can see him in the weight room doing that stuff. So he's able to move guys. He's able to drive guys back in outside zone once he picks up a head of steam, and he is able to anchor, right? He might get run over by the best in the league, but he's not going to be a liability there. So I really just do like him. There's some really complicated stuff in his game that I could really use to improve, but I think it's something he will because he's such a cerebral player. Like as a hand technician, it's very good, but I want to see the timing get a little bit better, of course. But I also do want to see him vary his punches, like you've talked about a lot, and I like when you talk about it. varied punches and independent punches from your feet are very important. And I want to see that a little bit more because it does sometimes look like he's going through the motions. So overall, Lou is an incredibly high floor prospect. And I do think he has quite a bit of ceiling. It's just, I don't know if that strength will improve. I don't know if he has more pounds to add onto that frame. And if he doesn't, his ceiling is going to be kind of limited. So that's why he only comes in at 5, despite the fact that I think he's a great pass protector and a solid run blocker and just probably the smartest interior offensive lineman in this class. Sans maybe our number one, my number one guy.
Look, I don't love this offensive interior class overall. I think it lacks some top end talent, but you cannot fault the center depth here. There just are not a lot of draftable centers in the average class right now. And this is without like scouting 400 plus players to dig out all the guys. I have 7 draftable centers plus Logan Jones, who's right on the cusp for me. And then I haven't watched Connor Tolleson or Bryce Foster or Connor Liu. So after this episode, I am going to dig out a little bit of time and I'm going to find a way to watch the Missouri guys and I'm going to find a way to watch Connor Liu because I want them on my board. There's something that's just really satisfying about a class that's got centers because so many just straight up don't. So that is something that I appreciate quite a lot.
Yeah. And one more thing about Connor Liu, I can't believe I didn't mention it. Nasty. He's just nasty. All right. I think we use that word too religiously.
Mm-hmm.
It applies in this case. I mean, he's just taking guys to the ground. This is a guy who's seen a lot of SEC football, and he has come out stronger for it. A battle-tested dude who he's seen the strongest guys, and he's like, I mean, I've gone up against these. I've gone up against Jalen Carter. You really think that you're gonna scare me? Like, I mean, I'm gonna just take you to the ground. I don't care if you've got 40 pounds on me. I mean, maybe I'm not going to succeed, but hell, you're not going to succeed either. There's a lot of times where he's just like, I'm going down, but you're coming with me, and it doesn't result in holding calls like a lot of other guys. I don't think he got penalized all that much. I could be wrong. But that's some of my issue with a few other guys that I just don't think I mentioned. There's just a lot of guys who get penalized a lot in this class. I don't think I ever mentioned it, but Lou only got penalized 3 times in last season, and that's impressive. So worth a note. I'm sure that I have it in my list somewhere. Caden Green was who I was really concerned about. I think he had 11 penalties this year and 9 the year before that. So that was another reason that he fell down my board.
Wait, let me check that because that's ringing a bell in my head for another player. That could not be penalty Green. Figure.
Then it's probably
Caden Green had 5 in 23 and 4 in 2024.
Then it was one of the A&M guys.
Victor, yep, I know who you're talking about, and we're going to get to him in a minute.
We will, yeah. It was one of the A&M guys that had that, but Green still, and the thing with Green was, I remember now, I thought he should have been called for a lot more penalties. I thought it was just the kind of guy where refs were like, all right, we're not going to call you for this because it's the college game, but in the NFL, he's going to get called a lot, so. All right.
Do you want me to intro Parker Brailsford now?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, so Parker Brailsford redshirted his first year. Then he broke out as a sophomore at the University of Washington, transferred to Alabama, and played for the Crimson Tide last season. He is listed at 6'2", 290 pounds. That's the elephant in the room. He looks like it. It affects his play style, but you also get the high side of that. This is a freaky athlete. I don't know if he's going to run what Jared Wilson ran last year. He is absolutely going to run a sub 5-second 40-yard dash. He is a silky smooth puller. That snap to now I'm moving off the ball and I'm going to hit you in your face transition is extremely quick, where when I watched him at Washington, that was such a big part of their offensive identity. It's like Parker Brailsford's first step athleticism changed the way that they ran the football. It was so dependent on snap the ball, and now I'm going to reach block, or I'm basically going to be a lead on this true wide zone concept, because you got outside zone where you're running to the C gap, and then you got wide zone where you're running to the E gap beyond the opposite tight end. And they really like to use Parker Brailsford as a leader in those concepts. And my God, does he maximize every bit of his physical ability. He is just bouncing off the fucking walls when he is blocking zone. He makes his money impeding 3 or 4 defenders in one play. I'm going to help you on the combo. Then I'm going to go out and I'm going to hit the guy beside me. That wasn't even the play, but I'm going to do that anyway because what? He's there. Am I not going to hit him? Then I'm going to find the Mike linebacker and I'm going to knock him off the ball. And then I'm going to peel back and I'm going to drill the will. And now all of you are out of the play and none of you are making the tackle. He works his ass off to stay engaged. I love to see linemen that really strain, and they're not going to hold because holding is different, but they're going to change their hands angles and they're going to change their lower body angles to just keep moving, guys. Even if you're not all the way in control, it's a lot harder to make a tackle when you have Parker Brailsford hanging off your chest versus when you're completely unimpeded, even if Brailsford doesn't have him all the way squared up. And in pass protection, I think he's basically maxed out. I liked all of what he did. The hands are accurate. I liked the timing for the most part. I think he has the best reset ability of anybody in this class. He's just throwing uppercut after uppercut. And because he's small, they're not very powerful. But it's going to really minimize the amount of quick losses he has because it's just a flurry of hands. And he's got choppy feet as well. And that does a ton to use those little steps to take some of the brunt off of the bull rush because some guys can run through him, but he's not going to make it easy because he's going to be controlled. The back is going to be flat. Like I said, no quick losses. Make them earn everything. The problem with Brailsford is, God, outside of the athleticism, he has no physical traits. I think he has extremely limited arm length that makes it really tough to stay engaged. You line him up on a nose tackle, yeah, he's going backwards. And as hard as he tries, he's going backwards pretty quick, where if there's a pressure, it's going to be attributed to him and not to the quarterback. Because he's not just like shorter in terms of his arms, but shorter in terms of his stature. I think he honestly might be sub 6'2". Good arm over from a lengthy defensive tackle. Just not really a lot that he can do. He's a true center-only prospect. He's legitimately scheme specific. Like, you got to be an outside zone team to take this guy. So that really minimizes the amount of teams that could pick him early, that could take him on day 2 as a starter. But the reason I have a day 2 grade on him and he's my number 5 lineman, there's got to be one, right? He's just such a good football player. There's got to be an NFL fit for him. I loved watching Parker Brailsford.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great evaluation of him. Really hit all the notes. I mean, I have written down in my notes, he's the lean, mean Crimson Machine because he's lean and he's mean, right?
Love it.
Like, it's really impressive how good of a football player Parker Brailsford is for a 2-year starter. And like, okay, 2-year starter is generally a positive. You've seen a lot of football. It's just ridiculous. I mean, he looks like an NFL player out there, you know, and it makes sense though, because he was as a redshirt freshman, he was an integral part of that Washington national championship team. Then he follows Kalen DeBoer to Alabama, where they're asking him to do so much. I mean, the Georgia game, the stuff that they were throwing at him, that he had to call at, all of these blitzes, stuff that I'd frankly had never seen before, honestly. I mean, I'd watched that game before, but I hadn't been like keying in on like the complex blitz parts because I hadn't watched the Alabama center before. And they're asking him to do so much to kind of dispatch these blitzes. And for the most part, he did it. He was able to neutralize, like, it didn't feel like there was an unblocked rusher from Georgia unless they were rushing 7-on-6 or 6-on-5. You know, so Brailsford was really responsible for that, and he was really good at it, and you saw him improve as the game went on. He's not going to get beat by the same look twice, and I love that. I love that about any NFL player, any guy I'm seeing in college who's just like, he makes a mistake, and then he's just not going to make that mistake again. That is the trait that is one of the most important traits for an NFL player, and one of the most important traits for an NFL coach. You know, these coaches are out there, they live by the mistakes and they make sure they never make them again. So Brailsford really impressed me in that aspect. Like you said, all around just an elite pass protector, great technician. And as far as a 290 guy, he has no right to be as strong or have as good of an anchor as he is, because I mean, you talk about, he is small and he's short, and that's not good, but it does give you the natural leverage, and Brailsford makes the most out of that. especially in the run game. I do feel like once he gets that head of steam, he's able to get really low and just push guys off their mark, because when you're going upwards, it's just harder to run, right? It's harder to run. That's why we talk about leverage so much. Take a guy off their foundation. You want to get low to the ground to tackle these guys. It's generally more advantageous to get lower to go faster, and Brailsford is just taking them off of their feet. It's just impressive for a guy like that. Probably captain. I don't know. It just seems like that kind of guy. Either way, Brailsford really impressed me. And like you said, man, you look at that size, you look at that length, and how it does show up on tape. He'll get beat by really big, nasty tackles. They will beat him, right? And he will just get controlled by really long arms. And like you said, the arm over from a long arm defensive lineman is going to kill him. I saw it happen multiple times. He shouldn't be in my top 5. He shouldn't be my number 4 center, but you just can't help but saying there's somehow this guy's going to be an NFL starter. He's going to make it work. If I had to bet on anybody making it work at that size, I'd bet on Parker Brailsford. So very interesting evaluation. We'll see how it comes around, how it ends up this year, because if Alabama's really good this year with Kalen DeBoer again, or if they really pick up a lot of wins and Brailsford, we see him in the biggest moments and he's stopping these blitzes and he's calling them out, because I do think there's more work to be done there with Brailsford. I was like, it's really good. I want it to be elite. The processor and the ability to call out this protection, it's really good. It's better than most dudes, but because that's such an integral part of your game, I want it to be as good as it can possibly be. So I want to see him keep improving there. But I mean, you see Alabama go to the national championship, see eyes on Brailsford, see him making these plays. I think the stock could get really high. I think he could go day 2 and not even in the 3rd round. I think he could be a 2nd round guy. He's that good of a player.
This is my Aaron Brewer. I am really rooting for Brailsford to succeed because he checks so many boxes. This is a guy who just won in the NFL.
Yeah, he wants it more than you do too. That's what you got to love about Brailsford.
All right, so you've revealed your 4 because he was your 4, correct?
Yeah, and Lou was my 5.
I think we're going to have the same top 3 because if you remember from last week's episode that never was, I have an extra player ranked in this episode.
Oh, yeah. Let's go. Yeah. We get to talk about my boy. Yeah. All right.
You were talking about who is it being the best puller in college? Was that was Pregnon?
Yeah.
Or maybe one guy.
Ooh.
And we're going to talk about him. Yep.
All right. Do we want to reveal the 3 now? 3 through 1?
Yeah, my 3. Well, why don't we keep up the suspense? It's going to be so sad if we wind up having the same guys. My number 3 in the same order is Armaje Reed Adams from Texas A&M. And by the way, that is an Elson certified pronunciation. It is Armaje, and that caught me way by surprise. I was thinking I shouldn't even bother looking this up. It's obviously Armaj, but nope. I heard it from him himself. He hosts a podcast. Armaje Reed Adams, Texas A&M, number 3.
We don't have the 3 guys in the same order. I have Armaje Reed Adams at 3 too. So that does mean that at 2 I have Jake Slaughter. I'm just kidding. I don't have. I was close though. I was really close. So this is a Victor certified pronunciation. Correct. Iapani Laloulu.
Let's go. First try.
Not my first. About my 70.
Heading into the episode. Yep. Yeah. We both been grinding the Iapani Laloulu name pronunciation.
I found a clip of him saying it. And it was a great moment for me because I was like, yes, I'm finally going to be able to pronounce a name. But he is my 2. And then number 1 is going to be Jake Slaughter.
All right. So I have Slaughter at number 2. So he is effectively my number 1 interior offensive lineman because, and the Army doesn't know this, I have Charles Jagusaw out of Notre Dame who played a game at guard, played a game at tackle last year. Yes, 2 entire games as my number 1 interior offensive lineman. I told you last week we're going to talk about him later, and I meant later.
Let's go. I love Charles Jagusaw. So last week I came into the pod with a take and a half. I was saying, listen, Charles Jagusaw is a top 5 tackle in this class, and he's up there in the tier with everybody else, the top 4, and I say he's 5, and then he's Elson's number 1 guard. I'm pretty sure we see him very similarly, just a different position. I think we see him very similarly. That should tell you how good the top of that tackle class is. This is more of me having him at number 5 tackle is a reflection of how insane this tackle class is. He's my guy, and you have him number 1, so he's your guy too. That's exciting. Let's go.
That's so much fun because this is a guy with very limited tape. There's like no consensus to back this up, and we both decided that Charles Jagusah is a fantastic football player. That's really satisfying.
But if you watch the tape, so there are two things that got to happen when you're grading out Charles Jagusah. You got to watch tape, and then number 2, you got to have the balls to say, all right, this guy's only played 182 snaps in his college career. He's my number 1 guard. He's my number 5 tackle.
Baby.
And last year, last episode, what did I say? I went out there and said, now I'm not going to do it right now because we've only seen 2 games, and I think there's developing to do. But if I had to put my money on anybody being the number 1 tackle in a year or two's time, I think Charles Jagusah would be my pick after Spencer Fano. Now, something along that lines, I was saying Charles Jagusah is going to be a top 3 lineman in whatever class he ends up being, because he is a redshirt sophomore this year. So in whatever class he ends up being, Charles Jagusah is the next great Notre Dame lineman, and he will be top 3 lineman. So that's awesome that you have him number 1 too. I'm excited to talk about him. Maybe we save him till the very end.
You know what? I think we should maybe talk about him now because you didn't even technically have him on the list. And then we'll talk about Jake Slaughter, who's basically our consensus number 1 to end it.
Yeah.
So I can intro him, but don't worry, I'll save some stuff for you to talk about. It'll be a true intro.
No,
so he
go
played
ahead.
basketball. He played basketball and soccer growing up. A 41-0 state championship wrestling season in his junior high school. And my God, do you see it when you watch him play? However, it's been really a rocky path to CFB stardom for him. He didn't play much if he played at all as a freshman. He redshirted. He's going into his sophomore year this year. And then last year, he had big expectations. The coaching staff was speaking really highly of this guy. He's way up there for like best reports of football character of literally anybody in college football. Yeah. And then he tore his pec in the preseason and missed all but 2 games. However, those were the 2 games that really matter. He started at guard against Penn State, that defensive front that has denied Dennis Sutton, who, spoiler alert, I really, really like. I did his eval a couple months ago, right at the beginning, that had Abdul Carter constantly stunning around and coming from weird alignments, that had Zane Durant, who I think I have a fringe day 2 grade on right now, a fantastic defensive front, did not allow a pressure. And then, in the championship, they just kicked him out to offensive tackle, and he was just taking on Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau all game and did more than just hold his own. He was fantastic. The last thing I'll say before I let you take it away, I have him as a guard. That's because his projection on this Notre Dame team is really ambiguous. They have a pretty solid starter who was a freshman last year. That's Anthony Knapp, I think. And then we talked about Emil Wagner, a tackle that we both like a decent amount, a real NFL prospect starting on the other side. They might just plug him in at guard. And I think he has some athletic limitations that could turn him from a quality starting tackle to an all-pro guard. This isn't a guy I'm kicking inside because he's got to. This is a guy I'm kicking inside because he gets to. I like him a lot at both positions, and now I'll let you do his strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, so I have him at tackle just because I thought he was just as good at tackle as he was guard. And I'm like, well, I mean, if you give him the choice, he should play tackle because that's the more important position, and it will get you paid more. Shout out Rashawn Slater. You know what I mean? What is he getting? Like 28 a year or something? 28 and a half? Ridiculous. More. I mean, it should be more. He's awesome. Probably a top 3 pass protector in the league right now. He's that good. But yeah, Jagusah, I don't have the athletic concerns at tackle. I think he's probably one of the better athletes I've ever seen at tackle, even. Like, oh my God. It's just insane. Watching him get out of his kick slide is something to behold. It really is. Because he's also 6'7", 320. I'm just not sure what to say about that.
At 333 right now.
Oh my God. So yeah, I mean, it's that crazy. And I also have no qualms about what you're saying because I definitely think he could be an all-pro guard. It's just like, yeah, he could also be an all-pro tackle. So it's like, yeah, but yeah, he gets out of his kick slide. And then after he gets out of his kick slide, a lot of these great athletes who don't have many reps under their belt, they will have kind of janky footwork because they haven't practiced it too much. And it's just not great. Not Jagusah. I mean, this guy, he looked like a seasoned NFL veteran. with his footwork. It's smooth. There are no questions about his foot speed. He's always mirroring what the defender is doing and also anticipating what the defender is doing. It's really incredible to watch this massive human being work in space. You know what I mean? Like you said, state wrestling championship, and it shows. Okay, so yeah, he's 6'7", 333. He's a great athlete. I mean, surely he's just like weirdly not strong. No, I mean, like you said, state wrestling champion. He just wrestles dudes to the ground. Doesn't get called for penalties. I think maybe one penalty in the 2 games, which is, not great, but we'll have to see in a full season sample size, of course, but really impressive, really strong. The weaknesses you have are just like, yeah, he's only played 2 games. So, I mean, sometimes you'll get fooled, right? Sometimes you'll get fooled, right? Sometimes you'll see, like, I think there's a fair bit of athleticism over technique on the tape, but it's just because he's such a ridiculous athlete and he was a redshirt freshman last year playing in the semis. I don't blame him for trusting his athletic abilities, which are ridiculous, over his technique sometimes. I think he struggled sometimes when they started to pick up on his tendencies. He didn't have the improvisation abilities that seasoned tackles do. Again, something that will improve. Hand technique is still developing, right? Again, 182 snaps. He will have plenty of time to develop that. He's just a green player who looks better than he's a green player when it comes to technique, who also technically is better than most of the guys that we talked about on this list. Okay. Like, yes, he's green, and you have to talk about that because you have to talk about his weaknesses, but still technically he's better than a lot of these guys that we've talked about at tackle and guard. So I don't know what to say about him other than the fact that I was not ballsy enough to put him as my number 2 or my number 3 tackle. Because he had only played 182 snaps, and the back half of the national championship, I saw some concerns. But in a year's time, I think he's going to be the number 2 tackle, or the number 1 tackle, or the number 1 guard, or the number 1 overall interior offensive lineman, because he would be my number 1 interior offensive lineman today if I had him kicked into guard. So we'd share the same there. I'd have him over Slaughter. So I love Jagusa, and hopefully he's playing week 1 this year. I don't know, because he fractured humerus or whatever it was. Do you know?
I think, yeah, so I didn't follow up from the tackle episode because we recorded the tackle episode right after it came out that Jagusa was in an ATV accident and hurt something in his arm. I was going to say it was labrum, but I think you're right. I think it's humerus or something like that. Humerus is in the arm, not the leg, right?
Yeah, it's the arm.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I'm pretty confident that's what it is. Might miss time with it, should not miss the whole season. Don't know if he'll be out in the class of 2026 or 2027, but advanced technique for his age. He's clearly putting in reps on reps in practice. When I was talking about that elite polar, I think he might be the best polar in college football next year. My biggest critique on him is it's like, okay, maybe leave your feet a little bit less. Like, maybe throw your shoulder into the guy, like push off of the ground and leave the ground and detonate the guy with your shoulder, maybe a little bit less.
He wants
because you glance off him like 1 in 5 times. He wants it too much. When you combine that linear athleticism with the strength that he has, it's dangerous. Let's just hope he's on the field for most, if not all, of the 2025 season. And this could be a special O-line prospect.
I mean, yeah, he's pretty much a revelation. And where is he on the consensus big board? We got. He's 96. He's 96.
Oh, so he's climbing, because I have him on my spreadsheet as a 3rd to a 4th. Now he's going up to a true 3rd. So the ball knowledge is it's rising to the top.
There you go. But I mean, even 96 is a 3rd through a 4th, though.
Yep, it's
really
insane.
Because I think my 3rd through a 4th range started at like 76 last year. I think it did. So but the 3rd through a 4th, there's like a lot of guys who have the 3rd through a 4th grade on my board. So it went from like 76 to 120 or something. It was insane. But either way, we clearly see Jagusa very similarly. It's just when you're watching him, it's just like, how awesome do you see him? I struggle to see any guy who knows ball is going to watch this tape and be like, Yeah, I don't think he's going to be an awesome player next year. I don't think he's going to be a really good prospect in a year or two, or even he's probably coming out in 2027 at worst. Like maybe he wants to put another year on tape, or maybe he just wants to run it back with Notre Dame because they've got a great program over there. I don't think he goes into his redshirt senior year though, so I think he's probably a 27 guy at worst. 'Cause you got those tools, you got to go to the NFL and get that money and get closer. Because this is a guy who's just he's built for the NFL. This is a guy. He's just another line in that great history of Notre Dame linemen.
All right, so we gave Charles Jug, you saw the airtime that he deserves. Do you want me to take it away on Armaje Reed Adams?
Yeah.
All right, so going into the Reed Adams evaluation, he's ranked highly on the consensus board. I think they have him in that true second round range as borderline the best interior guy in this class. I was so ready to be disappointed because this is a sixth-year senior who has 1 year of, per PFF at least, pretty good production. But that's not how it was. He immediately pops on tape. 6'5", 340 pounds is his listed weight. And I think he plays right about up to that. He is a brick shit house, super broad-shouldered, has a huge wingspan. I think he's got long arms for a guard, and he knows how to use it. Because as a down blocker, as a drive blocker, man gap is his game. He's just an absolute snowplow where it's not necessarily I'm going to land the hands inside on you every time and move this one guy off the ball. It's I'm going to get really wide and I'm going to see if I can take 2 or 3 guys with me. I'm going to be at the forefront. I'm going to be the vanguard, and the running back can figure it out because now there's a huge hole to run through somewhere, surely. He's an excellent finisher. It's like a job to him. There are some linemen where they're going to disengage a little early. They're going to let their man off the hook. There are some linemen like Spencer Fano who are just absolutely insane, and they're looking to run someone over every snap. For Reed Adams, it's this play needs to end with my man on the ground. It's how I do it. It's a run block rep. I put him on the ground because eventually that wears guys down. If you're going to the turf every single play, you're going to get tired. I'm going to be dishing out damage. I'm not going to play over my skates. I'm not going to draw a flag. I'm going to use this wrestling type of ability. He doesn't have a wrestling background that I'm aware of, but it sure looks like he does, to find a way to pancake his guy. And in pass protection, I think there's potential. There were 2 things that I really liked. One of them was the production. Let me see if I have his pressure rate allowed. 1.6% in 2024. Big step up from his Kansas days. Not elite, but pretty good. But I don't know if I mentioned it, but he did work his way up Kansas's depth chart, and then he transferred to Texas A&M this year, so he's only played 1 season for the Aggies. The other thing I like, he's got really good grip strength. He locks the hands inside. He doesn't let go. He'll kind of find a way to clinch trap guys, where we talk about the snatch trap where you bat the hands down and put him into the ground. Something that Armand Membu did a lot of last year was if he catches you overreaching, he's just kind of going to find a way to get both arms around you, and your face mask isn't in the dirt, but you're still pretty much neutralized. There's not much you can do to get out of that, and I really liked that from Reed Adams. However, when you're kind of bear hugging the guy, there are going to be caveats to that. And the number 1 caveat with Armaje Reed Adams is he's got 20 penalties in his last 2 seasons. And it shows in both phases. He pulls guys to the ground a lot. It's not egregious like, there was one offensive lineman that I talked about last episode, Isaiah World, where the dragging guys to the ground was just absolutely terrible. Not to call out Isaiah World because he's by all accounts like a really smart football player, but just really brain dead decisions. Like you're on the backside of a play, you don't need to drag the guy to the ground. And I really want to see Isaiah World cut down on that now that he's transferred to Oregon. That's the Oregon transfer I was thinking on the
There you go.
Thinking of on the offensive line. It all comes full circle. Let's see these guys play together next year. Let's go, baby. I'm excited to see that. So Reed Adams does need to cut down on that, even if it's just part of his play style. Let's see if we can go from 10 penalties over 12 games to 5 or 6 penalties over 12 games. Because if you're going to be a good run blocker, I think that's a lot more palatable. And then the other thing is, I just don't think he's a very good athlete. I do think there's some scheme dependence there. I don't want him climbing the linebackers very often. I don't think that's his game. I think his feet are pretty heavy in space, and there's a lot of flying through the action instead of breaking down and really taking away the angle from the linebacker. And I think that shows up in pass pro. Sometimes he just goes up against really twitchy defensive tackles or slanting rushers that give him a hard time. And I thought the Aggies really sheltered him. It was a little bit like watching a center. There was double team help virtually every snap. There was a lot of pulling him on a play action counter to not give him that head up matchup and just let him pop a guy and use that strength in space as a pass protector. So I want to see in this continuation of his 2024 season, I want to see him head into this year and show that this 2024 version of me, this is who I am. I'm not the Kansas version. I've evolved. I can be a good pass blocker. The run blocking stays the same. And that is Reed Adams' path to going on day 2 as a 6th-year senior.
Yeah, very interesting player because, like you said, you just don't see that often. Yeah, I'm just going to play 3 years at Kansas. And then he played 1 year somewhere else before that, didn't he? He played like an FCS school or something?
Let me see if I have that in my notes. No, I have him as Kansas all the way.
Really?
I think he got hurt. I think you saw him not have stats. I think he was hurt for that year.
I think he had a red shirt, and I think he got hurt as well 1 year. So that's why he's a 6-year senior. There's always more eligibility. But with Reed Adams, the first thing you'll see is like, yeah, there's just no mistaking this guy. I mean, not only is he, as you said, 6'5", 340, he's massive. We talk about long arms. There's not many long-armed guards in this class. Reed Adams has long arms. I mean, tree trunks, you know what I'm saying? But it's also like he's got this menacing look to him because he's got the Aggies red on him, but the rest of him is just like he's got full sleeves on his arms. It kind of just looks like he's gonna choke the life out of you, man. He's just so intimidating on the field. Like if I'm like a 280-pound 3-tech going up against this guy, I'm shivering in my boots, man, because there's just no way I'm going to survive that. So I think I see Reed Adams really similarly to you, just a little worse, just a little bit. I think we were talking before the show about how I kind of had this massive tier of guys in the middle, and it really extends from Armaj Reed Adams, number 3, all the way to number 9 at Caden Green, where I think all of them are just within a round of each other. And well, probably not Caden Green. Maybe it gets a little bit more dicey, maybe a round and a half, 2 rounds, but I didn't see all that many differences between him and Jaden Roberts. I did have him higher than Roberts because I think he's a better athlete. He's bigger and he's stronger, but not by much. I think Reed Adams reminds me a lot of Tyler Booker, except I just think he's a worse technician by a not small amount. And I do think he is a better athlete also. I think he's a fine athlete, average, but not in a bit like average. And for his size, that's good. Again, I know when I'm climbing, he's a gap guy. But all of what you said about the run blocking, I agree with. He's a great run blocker. No notes there. I want to add more to the pass protection. I thought, like you said, the bear hugging was a real concern for me. If you can't get that, if you can't get a hold of that in the NFL, a hold of that. If you can't get a hold of that in the NFL, there's going to be an issue. But also I watched some of his Kansas tape. It was bad, so it really didn't impress me. It did impress me how many strides he made in his technique to get up to the level that he's at with his hands and his feet in 2024. However, I do think there's still a lot of work to go with here. He's hugging guys often. In Reed Adams' case, I don't care about that as much. I think there are some guys who actually can get away with hugging. They're so big that it's like you're not even holding. This is just kind of Rep, are you going to call holding on that?
It's where your hands are.
That's just where my hands are, dog. Like, what am I supposed to do here? He's coming at me with the bull rush. I'm just that big. It's not my fault that he's a wimp and he fell to the ground. You know what I mean? So I think in some cases it can work, but I really do he's really high and outside. I mean, talk about it a lot, but he's high and outside a lot. And in the run game, there's a lot of flash. There's a lot of great stuff, but I did want to see a little bit better sustain from him sometimes. Like, he will slip off guys sometimes. And let guys get back into the play. That was a real issue. Again, it didn't happen much, but it was enough where I noted it. I was like, he lets guys back into the play sometimes, and it's not because, like you said, he wants to take them to the ground every play. I just think sometimes he doesn't get the best initial leverage and the best initial hand placement to do so. There's no question about work ethic. There's no question about strength, about him wanting to play the position. He clearly loves to be an offensive lineman and takes pride in it. This is a guy you'd love to have on your football team. And I think the pass protection, we've seen improvements. I don't see why he can't keep improving. So, like you said, I think there's some untapped potential there. He's my number 3. I don't know if I see him as a guy who goes in the top 50 right now, but he could, right? There's absolutely plenty of worlds where he goes in the top 50 next year, whether a team just values that size, which, I mean, he almost assuredly will, because teams, they love guys who are just really big and good enough athletes. So he will almost assuredly go in the top 50. But if he can improve, I think he will warrant that and maybe even reach into the first round. I came away slightly disappointed with the tape, but not enough where I was like, oh, he's not my guy. No, I still love Reed Adams, just slightly less. And also, one thing I wanted to point out is that he's a 6th-year senior, and it's very clear on tape. He just doesn't miss many assignments. He knows what he's doing in both phases of the game, because we often talk about pass protecting and situational awareness and pass protection. By the way, one thing I didn't talk about earlier that I really wanted to mention, Parker Brailsford is maybe the best situational pass protector I've seen in a long time. Just
so smart.
No matter what you're throwing at him, he's got an answer for it. Like, he's an elite improviser. And I think, obviously not on the level of Brailsford, but Reed Adams is in a similar vein in the run game and the pass game. He knows how to adjust more in the run game. But when you're talking about combo blocking, I think it seems really cut and dry, but especially when you're the climber, you have to wait for the other linemen to get there, and sometimes they don't. This is one thing that I really think distinguished him and Roberts. Roberts had this issue where he would be the climber on an inside zone or a duo or something of the sort where he has to combo block, and his guy, he would leave the defender free. He would leave to climb when his other lineman wasn't there to help out and seal that inside. But there were many plays where Reed Adams, his tackle on the right side of him, wasn't there yet, but Reed Adams held up. I'm not going to climb yet. I know my guy isn't there. I feel he isn't there, so I'm going to hold up half a second more, make sure my guy gets the leverage so he can seal, and then I'm going to climb up and hit my guy. So a really small thing, but it's something I see even NFL guards struggle with, and it really kind of kills a lot of plays because if you let a guy go, he's just going to get into the backfield and kill the play. Something I wanted to point out with Reed Adams. He was really good at that.
He is such a fascinating football player where I was concerned that I was just going to go, this is a day 3 prospect with him, looking at how he graded out and the journey that he's taken to get where he is. And there's absolutely something there. I'm stoked to see what he can do in 2025.
So am I. All right.
Do you want to take Iapani Laululu? I broke before you did. Iapani Laululu.
Yeah, Iapani Laululu. Yeah, so he's my number 2. He's your number 4, right?
Yes, with an additional player as my number 1 that you don't have.
Yeah, so really he's your number 3. And it makes sense. Like, he's a true center. Well, he could absolutely play guard, but he's played center his entire career, I believe, at Oregon.
Nah, he's played guard. He played more guard snaps as a freshman.
Yeah, he's really versatile. He's played everywhere on the line, but most of the time it's been like, okay, there's an injury, let's move you to guard. I think he's intentionally being played at center. They like him as a center is what I was trying to say. But he's not like any of the other centers on this list. He's 6'2", 325. And oh my God, the first thing I want to say about him is we've talked about 340-pound guys. We've talked about 330-pound guys, true guards who, I mean, I'm not going to say bigger than him because he is thick. Like, I'll probably put a picture up on screen. Man, this guy's thick. He's got a wide base. He is legitimately immovable. I mean, the amount of times where I saw a guy, maybe he didn't even realize he's there. Like, there were a couple of times where he doesn't realize the guy's there, and they're coming full speed at him, and he doesn't see him, and they just bounce off of him. It should be impossible. And Lapuulu, no, that was
Let's go. It's not just
that was
me.
Right. That was right. Unless I'm tweaking.
Okay. I heard a Lapo in there.
Oh, yeah. Lalaulu. I said Lapo. Lalaulu, I mean, they bounce off of him. And then it's even harder to move him when he realizes you're there because he's got the best anchor in this class. And I don't think it's particularly close. I almost gave him an A+ because when he even when he doesn't land the hands, which I don't think is very often, this is a good technician. When he doesn't land the hands, it's just raw strength on strength. You don't have a chance still. When he does land the hands, he maybe takes one step backwards and it looks like a step where he's like, yeah, don't think you moved me a step. I'm purposely taking this step backwards just so I can push you backwards, gain that extra ground. He's just nasty. He's mean, and I'm truly immovable as a and you pair this with the fact that he's pound for pound one of the best technicians in pass protection in this class, and a truly unique and fascinating prospect. And then I want to talk about this is I've heard raving reports about his leadership and his capabilities off of the field. I think and he's a guy that's been learning how to do this. He's really come into his own this past year, and I think he's going to take a big role next year in this team, both on and off the field, and calling that stuff out for Oregon. It seems like Dan Lanning has a lot of belief in him, and he loves him, so that's always a plus to point out. But, I mean, this is a solid to good athlete, I'd say, for that size. He's got smooth footwork. He's got really quality hands that hit the inside, and I'm just going to move you. They're just jarring. They're just killing guys, So why is he not this elite? Why is he not my clear number one? I think he's a first round prospect. It's because actually for a bigger guy who's nasty and immovable, I think he's a work in progress in the run game, So it really shocked me. He's a nuanced technical pass protector who could use some work in the run game. That can't be right. No, it is. But all of the flashes are there in the run game. That's why it's very easy for me to bet on him, because like every 3 plays, you'll see him move a guy out of a gap or really sustain this block at a level very few guys have. And you'll see that and be like, okay, this guy's got all pro ceiling. All right. Well, maybe I don't know. I don't have a great read on his athleticism as far as how far it can take him, but he's got really good ceiling. Let's just say that. But there's just also a lot of times where he kind of just does the one punch and he kind of lets guys free. He lets guys get back into the play a lot. That was concerning. He's really strong, but he just hasn't shown the ability to move dudes backwards consistently. And I wonder if it's due to arm length. I wonder if it's just he can't engage early enough. And I wonder if he just can't. They're getting that leverage due to their longer arms. And Lalulu is just, I'm going to have to settle for positioning here rather than using my my leg drive. I also think he could really stand to learn how to use leverage a little bit better. One thing that I think will help his run blocking out a lot. But yeah, he's just kind of clumsy. He'll overshoot guys. Sometimes he'll take bad angles. And I think his get off is only okay because he's a big guy. So I think he's a good athlete when he gets on the move, but sometimes it takes a lot of force to move that much weight from zero momentum, right? So that's not great. He gets over aggressive, but again, man, I think he's a true junior or he's a redshirt junior. I think he's a true junior, right? So there's so much time and so much runway for him to improve. We've already seen so many good things. I have the highest hopes for Lalulu, and I think he's going to do really good things. But I'm not going to go out there and say he's number one over Slaughter. I did want to do it just because the potential's there, but he's not number one. And there are things, he's not like this can't miss prospect. I don't think he's a first round prospect at this moment. I just really loved his tape.
This is a win for the pod because we view him like exactly eerily the same. Holy hell, this player is strong. He's immediately noticeable because he is a little smaller. He's listed at 6'2", like you mentioned.
Yeah.
He looks heavier than 325 to me.
He does.
Just so much muscle on the frame. So imagine you're a 320-pound 2-eye who's trying to 2-gap, and you're not doing bad against the guard because you're not getting double-teamed yet. And then you get hit by a fucking SUV. That is the effect that his help blocks, his shoulder checks have on people. I can't remember watching an interior offensive lineman that has done this before. Surely like the Quentin Nelsons of the world, who I didn't evaluate, probably had a similar trait. But he puts the shoulder into guys, and they go keeling over. They go flying to the other side of their gap. It's just, you can feel the crunch when he hits people. And I loved his technique and pass protection. I think he throws good punches. I think his grip strength is absolutely up to snuff how you would expect it. Like you said, outstanding anchor. And I think he is extremely explosive, at least when you factor in his size, which I think is 330 pounds plus. This is a guy that I think you can actually trust to reach block a lot of assignments, especially if that weight gets a little bit more efficient. There are a couple wow, we got something here type moments when I was watching my first game of him and I didn't know exactly what I was going to be watching just with the way he moves at his size. He's also just really smart picking up stunts, experience beyond his years in terms of how he processes defensive line games. I think we see the same limitations. He's like straight up not a technically refined run blocker at all. I think his pad level is poor, really bad sustain, letting linebackers off the hook because I think he's got pretty short arms. The hands land high and he doesn't control people. And then there's one thing that bugs me, and that really kept him out of like the true second round category to me because I think it's a big upside limiter. For as explosive as he is, I think he's a really poor deaccelerator at the second level. He just can't get guys square. Linebackers who are under 230 pounds can put a quick move on him and make him miss. And now he is flying through the second level, and there's no way he can get the hips back around and impede anyone else. But if he can work on that targeting system, if he can get a little bit savvier, and if he can place the hands a little bit better, this could be definitely a quality starting NFL center, maybe a Pro Bowler. I will say, like I mentioned before, he's played a lot of guard. He actually started the season at guard, and then, like you said, I think there was an injury, and he moved inside to center, and that's where they're going to keep him. He's a really bad snapper right now. I mean, he's spraying the ball high, he's spraying it low, but one thing I've noticed as I've watched like 11 or 12 centers for this episode on various teams, they get better. It's a very learnable skill. I think he'll get better. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be a good NFL starter.
Yeah, absolutely. You can get better at snapping, but I do agree that there are some times where he was making Dylan Gabriel jump for it. I'm like, all right. Yeah, and I really didn't like his ability to size up defenders at the next level. But as a center, I think we can mitigate some of that, right? I do think that, I mean, obviously, there's just most schemes, centers don't get to the second level nearly as often as guards do. So you just get them in a scheme where, yeah, we're just going to run a lot of inside zone. I think that's where he's going to be best. You run a lot of inside zone where he's going to combo block with left or right guard, and then the right guard or the left guard is going to climb, and he's just going to seal that block and create this big gap. And he can because he's got incredibly strong arms and ridiculous legs. So he's just going to be able to not move, do what he does best, right? And pair that with that good reach block ability that I like that you pointed out. And I do think that can be mitigated by a smart play caller. But like you said, it's all there. And I think the run blocking, if we can see it come along, that's when we're really starting to work with something special. But even if it doesn't, having a guy who is really good technician, but also cannot be moved by any force on this earth in pass protection, that's never a bad thing to have on the NFL roster. I think he's got a really nice floor. I just can't see him not ending up as a starter somewhere, whether it be center or guard. I just think he's got that in him. He's got the capabilities. He's got the athleticism, but he's also just got the mindset. He's got the tenacity as well. I think he will end up as a starter somewhere at the very least.
All right, we've reached the championship round. We got one player left to talk about, and I get the feeling you probably like Jake Slaughter a little bit more than I do. So, do you want to start his eval off?
I'm not sure if I do, honestly, because I don't have him that much higher than Lalaulu. This was more of Slaughter at number one wasn't as much as me saying, oh, we finally have this elite center prospect and we've been waiting since like Tyler Linderbaum to get. It was more just like, yeah, I don't think anybody, there's just a lot of good players, but I don't think there's a lot of high-end talent in this class. Don't get me wrong. I like Slaughter quite a bit. I think he's going to be a really good pro. I just think I might pump the brakes on like the first round hype, even though you could probably convince me he's a first rounder, right? First thing you want to say is I think he's going to be a fifth year senior this year, right? It absolutely shows on tape. This is probably one of the most battle tested and definitely the smartest player in this class. There's just nobody on his level as far as processing, post snap, seeing what's coming to him. I mean, just no, I didn't see anybody cross his face once. It was just ridiculous. He calls out blitzes an elite level. He just knows what's coming, and he's calling up these protections, and it is a thing of beauty to watch. So I think just first off, this is a guy who starts day one at center, which again, like I said with Connor Lew, it's very rare to find a guy who you can slot in day one as a center and feel comfortable with it. I think he's one of those guys, and I'd feel more comfortable with him than Lew right now. And off the field like that, as a center, leadership really does matter, and being able to control that line room matters. And it's very clear from everything that you hear from anybody at Florida that this guy is an elite leader. He's been there for a long time. Everybody loves him. He can rile up the locker room and knows exactly what he's doing. So all of the mental off the field stuff, check out the stuff that really matters, especially for centers. And when we talk about it with like tackles, it doesn't matter as much, but for centers, it really does. We talk about leadership and those off the field issues. They really matter more for quarterbacks, centers, and linebackers, the guy that have to communicate with the rest of the team, the leaders of the team, right? I mean, you talk about linebackers. I mean, one of the best communicators ever, one of the best locker room. Well, one of the guys who could get people riled up more than anybody else in NFL history, Ray Lewis. He could always do that. You have to be able to do that as a center, a quarterback, or a linebacker, and there are no questions with Jake Slaughter on that, which is always amazing. He's got elite really, really, really good upper body strength that allows him to just control defenders, steer them, reroute them. It doesn't matter. Like, I think he's 6'5", 307 is what I have him as. But if he gets beat, he can legitimately just reroute guys with one hand, and it's very impressive. As a run blocker, he impressed me as far as being able to get leverage really well. For a 6'5" center, he was able to do that really well and just drive through guys, understands angles, understands momentum. There's no issues there. Great zone blocking IQ. He knows where he fits in to the concept. He's a fantastic combo blocker. He climbs really well. He sizes his guy up really well, and he hits him. And like I said, he's got great upper body strength, and he's able to latch on really, really well. So you just can't really get off of him. So for a small, like an average sized center, he really is playing above his weight some of these times, But then we're talking about like, oh, why do people love this guy so much? I feel like we talk about, I think people see him as this elite pass protector who has elite technique, and I just couldn't quite get there. I really wanted to. I think he's got good to great technique. I just think it's not. Sometimes he'll just slip off defenders late in the block, and sometimes his feet just aren't going to get, his hands just aren't going to hit the right spot, and it's just something you'll have to live with. Maybe he can learn it, but we're really seeing a finished product with Slaughter. And really my biggest issue in pass protection was just, I always felt like I was seeing guys behind him, and I couldn't figure out why, because he's doing everything right. But then it just feels like his footwork is really nice before the initial engagement, but then he punches and it's usually accurate, but his feet kind of slow up. They get a little bit janky. So he's got great upper body strength, but I think his lower body is lacking. So he's trying to really win reps with his upper body. So that leads to him getting off balanced. My upper body is not in line with my lower body. I'm going to get off balanced, or I'm just going to be able to get steered by guys. So with Slaughter, I just think, and it also, the lower body strength showed up in his anchor. He got bowled over a lot. Another big issue for him. I think this is a guy who is a good player in all facets, not a liability in any. He's also a good athlete, not like the best of all time. He's a good athlete. He is a player who you have no concerns starting on day one, who's a good technician. I just don't know if he has the ceiling to be a good, like a great center. I don't know if he has the ceiling to be like a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro. And that's why I probably wouldn't take him in the first round. Yeah, maybe he proves me wrong. Maybe he goes out there and improves a whole bunch. He's still in college. There's still so many ways he could improve. But with how much season he has, it's just a little less likely. So with Slaughter, I think you know what you're getting. day one, and I don't think the player is going to change too much. I hope he does. Hope he proves me wrong. He's going to be an all-pro, but either way, he's going to be in the league for a really long time. I have no doubt. I talked for way too long. I want to hear what you think about him.
I'm glad that somebody else views Slaughter as a really good center prospect, but probably not a guy you want to take in the first round, because I think he was the first interior offensive lineman that I watched. Him and Jaden Robert I watched like over a month ago. Had to go back and check over my notes, jog the memory a little bit. And I don't want to say I was underwhelmed with Slaughter, but I thought he had some deficiencies. And as a fifth year senior, who he was a first team All American at center this year, he was considered to be the best center in the country. I maybe wanted a little bit more. Like you mentioned, really nice athlete. He is a zone blocking maestro, whether you want him to be the trail man on the combo, whether you want him to be the lead man and climb, whether you want him to take a free release and hit the linebacker squared up, driving him out of the play. He does that really well. And I really like what he does in pass protection. 1.3% pressure rate allowed last year was a big step up from his 2023 season. He's just a 2-year starter, so I like to see that improvement. I think he's an aggressive puncher. I think he anchors with pretty good technique and generally plays a little bit above his size, because he, for a minute there, was actually listed in the mid 290s. And I thought that was really strange because he didn't look mid 290s, but he definitely maximizes his mass for the most part. He doesn't have all that much drive power, though, because you're kind of looking for a winning trait. Like at center, it's, are you going to be a starter in the NFL, which I definitely think Jake Slaughter is, or are you going to be that guy? Are you going to be the big-time value adder? Not everybody has to be Creed Humphrey, but obviously Creed Humphrey is like the number one example of that, who's a center who can do everything that you could ever ask him to do, and then some, versus just being kind of a decent weak link to have on the offensive line, who can also snap the ball and call out protections at a high level. I didn't love Slaughter's down-to-down drive power. If you want a guy to angle block, for example, I like how he maximizes his power. Like sometimes you'll see him really start to rotate the shoulder on drive blocks and really dig deep and try and find leverage. And there are a couple blocks where it's almost like in movies, if you see people trying to hold up a door because the bad guy's kicking it in, and it's like their butt and their back are against it and they're pushing back into it. Jake Slaughter can do a little bit of that. He really works hard to earn leverage, but he's just not an elite people mover. And I think he can have one-on-one losses to really high-end power rushers. I think his arm length is fine. I don't think it's exceptional. And probably the biggest place we disagree on him is, well, I didn't think this was bad. I thought his stunt recognition was actually pretty pedestrian. I think he knew how he was being attacked. It was the reaction time for me, where sometimes it felt like he was a little bit behind the curve, and because he doesn't have the elite physical tools, now he can't recover in time to entirely keep the looper out of the play, for example. But I don't want to end the Jake Slaughter eval on a low note. Like, he's my number one true college interior offensive lineman for a reason. This is a player without many deficiencies. I like that you mentioned this is a plug-and-play NFL starter. He's got the experience. He's got the leadership. He's got some scheme independence to him. But if you run a zone offense, which a lot of NFL teams do nowadays, this is a prospect you're really excited about. I think he has a mid to late second round type of floor. I would be shocked to see him get out of day two.
Yeah, I for sure agree. I mean, I think this is probably the guy I'm most confident about. We're going to be talking about in a similar vein next year, if not better. I don't think he's going to drop out. Like, I doubt he drops that far in my rankings. Like, he might not be interior offensive lineman number one next year. There's always a guy every year at every position who has this meteoric rise. I don't know who it will be on this list, but it's probably going to be someone not on this list. You know what I mean? That's the way these things go. No, it's going to be Josh Thompson. It's going to be Josh Thompson. It's somebody who wouldn't be on most lists, but he's on this list. You heard it here first. Josh Thompson, interior offensive line number one next year. But no, I'm pretty confident we're going to be talking about Slaughter's the top 5, probably top 3 interior offensive line prospect next year. I mean, he's both of our number one centers. I mean, I just don't see it changing. There are just not many college centers at this level, so I just don't think there will be a center better than him next year, because it's just so hard to play center in college, and it's so hard to project the transition into the NFL that I just think Slaughter's a shoe-in for center number one. he's such a good player. Very, very deserving of the number one spot, even if he's like not quite on the level of the number one tackle in Spencer Fano.
All right. How many linemen we just cover? Like 15 guys?
Yeah.
Maybe even more, because we both had some unique ones.
Yeah,
you want
to read
I'm
through the
impressed
list
by how much consensus there was that we
Yeah.
had. Like going in with not a lot of consensus over the summer. I think we saw a lot of these players pretty similarly, had some good conversations, and yeah, we're ready to recap. Did you want to start it off? Because I'm going to do something a little insane here in a minute.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll start it off. So yeah, at number 10, I had Emmanuel Pregnan, the Oregon guard, which, you know what? Thank you for confirming that I'm not a paranoid schizophrenic on him.
Any day.
At number 9, I had Caden Green, the Missouri guard or tackle, according to the consensus big board. At number 8, I had Chase Besantis, the Texas A&M guard. Number seven, I have changed it. I have Logan Jones, the Iowa center. Number 6, I have Jaden Roberts, the Alabama guard. Number 5, I have Connor Liu, the Auburn center. Number 4, I have Parker Brailsford, the Alabama center. Number 3, I have Amarje Reed-Adams, the Texas A&M guard. Number 2, I have Iapani Lalaulu, the Oregon center. And number 1, I have Jake Slaughter, the Florida center.
All right. Do you mind if I read off the fruits of my labor real quick?
Go ahead.
All 28.
Let's do it.
All right, so to make this work with the way I have it set up on my sheet, I got to do my guards 16 to 9. So number 16 is Inez Cooper, guard at Miami, and then his running mate, one spot above him, Matthew McCoy, Miami. The first draftable grade I have is Tyson Ruffins, who played for Nevada. Now he's transferred over to California, where he'll start there. Then I have Bo Stevens, the Iowa guard, and then the Iowa tackle that I'm kicking into guard, Jennings Dunker. By the way, I mentioned. Edit that part out. Rocco Spindler, who I watched for Notre Dame. He's transferred to Nebraska. Then I have Austin Collins, guard for Louisville, who transferred to Syracuse. A lot of movement. Tristan Lee, Clemson's left tackle, who I'm projecting inside as a wide zone guard. And then finally, the guy I mentioned at the top of the pod, Tano Atongiai, guard for Utah. And then my center rankings, 12 all the way to 4. Kalininu Fayeu, an excellent name out of Texas A&M. We'll see if he can start for the Aggies this year. They have a different center coming back. Andrew Madrigal, center out of Nevada. Nick Dawkins from Penn State, really talented player, just has 30-inch arms, I'm pretty sure. Ryan Linthicum of Clemson, and then Logan Jones out of Iowa. And then starting my draftable grades, Logan Jones was just on the cusp. Jaron Kump out of Utah. Pat Coogan, who I watched at Notre Dame, I believe. Yep, and he's transferred to Indiana. Could be a future starter. Braylon Moore, really interesting prospect from VT, transferred to LSU this year. And then Pete Nigra, who formerly of Northern Illinois and now at Louisville. And then into the players we talked on today, Anthony Donko, the Penn State right tackle I'm projecting inside. Jaden Roberts, guard out of Alabama. Chase Besantis, guard out of Texas A&M. Josh Thompson, former tackle, now guard at LSU. Emmanuel Pregnan, guard out of Oregon. Parker Brailsford, Alabama center. Iapani Lalaulu out of Oregon. Nailed that one. I'm so happy. We both got that one down today. Armandje Reed-Adams, guard out of Texas A&M. Jake Slaughter, center out of Florida. And Charles Jagusaw, the offensive lineman from Notre Dame.
Wow.
My God, it's finally over.
Incredible
after
stuff.
3 weeks of watching these guys. Well, after I watched the Missouri guys, of course.
We don't have to watch offensive linemen until spring. This is a major disappointment for me. I love the line.
It was a hell of 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah. No, it's fun to watch because linemen, it's kind of intimidating. When I started watching tape, it was really intimidating for me to start watching linemen because, like, this is this obviously when you're kind of a casual fan venturing into being more into it and watching tape, it's a really intimidating position because there's so much technical aspects. But it's for all the aspiring tape watchers out there, it's not as complicated as they make it seem. All right. Some people make it seem it is very complicated. It is not as complicated to make it seem. You know what is as complicated as people make it seem? Quarterback. That is so, like, I understand after 2 years of watching tape consistently now, I absolutely understand why there's a 30% hit rate for first round quarterbacks. I'm surprised it isn't lower. It's so goddamn hard. Offensive linemen, it's still hard, but it's a little less hard. And it's super fun watching these grown ass men just throw each other around. Some of the most fun episodes of the pod. And again, I'm very sad you missed the tackle episode because that was an all-timer.
Watching line gets so much more fun when you start to understand run concepts and types of blocks and understand what they're actually being asked to do. Like being able to differentiate, this is a random example, but a duo block from a combo block on zone, for example. Once that stuff starts to click, it goes from this is kind of a nightmare of guys running into each other in the trenches. What's going on here? Oh, he put him on his ass. I think that's a plus. We'll see. To, okay, now I know what I'm looking at. You see the skill start to come out, and it gets fun. Definitely.
Yeah. By the way, I want to give a shout out real quick. When I was first starting to try to learn a line play like 2 years ago, and even to now, I still watch it. Thinking Football, pound for pound, one of the best football channels on YouTube, man. Like, these guys are just putting out elite football content. 2 years ago, when I was really trying to learn the game, they made it very accessible and really helped me learn a lot of the basic concepts to help propel me into watching tape and all that stuff. Such an incredible channel. I like that. Great football content for free is just amazing.
If you want to evaluate, just go out and watch his video on run fits and pass protection concepts and run concepts right now. It will do so much good for you, just like it did good for both of us. I think some people probably just watch 2 hours and like 15 minutes of offensive line content. That's insane. If anybody is still here, we absolutely love you. We know it's not an easy thing to do. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, stay hard.